What is it with you? What do you got, a death wish or something?
That's what it takes. I just want to race.
All right, Dieselheads, it's episode 19 of the Chronicles of Diesel, the only show that covers everything Vin Diesel, his games, his movies, his discography. This is the Chronicles of Diesel. My name is Ethan, and with me here to ride or die is Devin.
Everything's changed.
Everything has changed. However, a lot of what we've had this show about has stayed the same, including what we've seen in this movie. That's right, folks. We watched Fast and Furious 6 with an ampersand. The official title for this movie, even though there are several out there. Yeah. Initially, well, let's get the air straight here. Initially, we were going to do a different episode for today. The original episode was going to be about a documentary called A War Hero, and a TV show that has Vin Diesel's name all over it, but not in it, is The Ropes. The TV series was one that he wrote a couple episodes of and directed a bunch of, like the majority of. And A War Hero was a documentary that he just was an executive producer only. We were going to do an episode on the two of those things as a more of a low-key, like almost like, I don't want to say a business-like Diesel, but like he's not acting in these things.
Business-like Diesel.
In a sense, he's just an executive producer. On that documentary. We wanted to see how that goes. However, we can't find these. Not really. This would require like finding DVDs
If
and
they
the
exist. I mean, I spent like a good hour trying to find them. Just Google, like for example, A War Hero. If you just Google A War Hero film or A War Hero Vin Diesel, the only thing that comes up is the IMDb page for it. Nothing else. I couldn't find like even like another article or something just talking about it that he's done it. It was just it came
and
out.
IMDb is the only place I've ever like knew
like,
about.
Oh yeah,
it
it grossed like $14 million. And I'm like, you think for something that grossed $14 million would have something else out there? But I don't know if it's because of like this came out and like maybe it was like a special screening. Yeah, like a not even a Sundance. But I feel like maybe like something for like a military family convention or something. I don't know.
A charity.
Grossed
$14 million.
But then The Ropes was a Netflix series. It was like one of their first original series back in the day of 2012. So I think that might be in a vault somewhere. But the first season's on Amazon, but it says the first season, but there's only 6 episodes on Amazon.
Right, and there's a lot more.
So we're getting a lot of conflicting information.
So
but
now there's the big name Netflix shows have DVD and Blu-ray releases. I don't know if this is the case.
I don't
for
think
this
so.
show. We'll have to do some research and find out. So basically, a future episode of the show, I feel like we might we're gonna play around with our future episode setup and see some things that are kind of like these. We might do a big special episode on these types of projects. I understand that up until now we've been chronological to a fault completely. This is where it becomes a fault because we can't do this for today's episode.
Honestly, I'm surprised we made it this far. We made it to 2012, like, and it didn't have to skip anything. That's actually, I think, impressive.
We didn't have to skip his short. We were able to watch a thing on Vimeo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because and that was a couple of those small things I thought we wouldn't be able to find, to be honest with you. Or we have to like go somewhere real sketch to find them. And I'm worried that like A War Hero is just lost. Someone has to have it somewhere, right? Like on DVD somewhere. That's where
we'll hunt it down. So a future special episode of the show will contain these. We'll figure out how we want to like approach these.
I want to say maybe, by the way. I don't ever want to like fully say
future. We're not committing to a timetable right now. A future episode.
We'll contact Vin Diesel's like estate and be like, "Hey, do you have like a burned disc with like a War Hero on it? Even if it's a demo version or something, can you send us that, please?"
So yeah, those were his 2012 projects. One day you might learn more about them, and we will probably too in the future. Perhaps learn more, maybe. But yeah, today is all about Fast and Furious 6, But before we talk about today's big topic, let's talk about Vin Diesel's September 2021. Devin, hit me.
All right, everybody, welcome to VNN, your Vin News Network, your only source you need to learn everything about Vin Diesel in the past month. I guess you could just go on his Instagram, which is where I mostly get my information. But sometimes I do some Google searching. Sometimes I dig in the weeds, find a scooter commercial that he was in, or sometimes he drops a single on Spotify and I'm able to find it real quick. But we're gonna look back at September here, and like I said, I mostly use Instagram, so bear with me here. But first off, I always almost forget this. I'm going to start it off with this time. Last month, that's August, he was at 71.3 million followers on Instagram. He is now at 73.4 million. So he might break 75 by the end of the year. That'd be a big dub for him, I think.
Damn.
Because when I started tracking this I think it was November, was 65.9. So he's getting up there. So yeah, 73.4 million. I think the Fast 9 buzz has kind of died off, so I don't think he's getting any followers from that. It just might be just people who rented Bloodshot on DVD from Redbox this past week. It could be that. It could be people found him via, I don't know, just suggestions on Instagram. I don't know. But that's what I can
People
tell
that decide they want to follow every celebrity on Instagram.
Yes,
it's like your first time on social media and you just follow everyone.
Yeah, 73.4 million. All right, down to what he's been posting. Last month he only had 5 posts, which is a little low for him. But last couple months he's been a little slow with the posts. I think it's because he's been working on a lot of projects, been doing stuff for Fast 9. This month he had over 11 posts, and that technically there's half of a night left for him to post something else. But as of right now, it's 11 posts. I'm not going to go through every single one, because that's a lot. But I'll point out some notable stuff, or ones that I found interesting. So one he did in early September was a video of him at the Sky Cinema in London, which is a famous cinema in London, I guess. And they had a poster for Bloodshot, and he just said, it's a video of him being like, Sky Cinema, they're playing this film, and he just obviously shows the poster, and he's like, good choice, good choice. I audibly laughed when I first saw it. So yeah, they're playing Bloodshot there. Then a couple days later, he was in Italy, and he wasn't just in Italy, just walking the streets. He was on the racetrack right before startup of the Formula One race, the famous Formula One race.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of it, but in Italy there. And he's out there. You can hear the engines roaring and stuff. It's pretty cool.
I think they always name F1 like tourneys or Grand Prix just after the city it's in.
I don't know.
Because I follow people on Twitter that are F1 heads, and all I hear is Moscow and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah.
I'm sure
but
it was
they just refer to it as that.
It was Italy or Barcelona or not Spain. Rome or something. I don't know. But yeah, Formula One, he did a couple posts about that. He did a post for Paul Walker because it was his birthday. Then he posted a video, or first a picture of a tree. It looked like in someone's backyard, but it didn't look like his backyard. I don't know what it was. But his oldest daughter asked him to do a duet with him while he was out and about with F9. They finally made time, but she wanted to do a duet with him from a musical, one of her favorite musicals, Hamilton. And he just said do you want to hear it? ? And then I think either the next hour or the next day he posted the video of them duetting. It wasn't them in person, but it was just the audio.
Okay.
But I guess his oldest daughter produced it. But I thought it was cute. I don't really care for Hamilton. I didn't know the song, so I didn't know if it would you say it's good or not. But yeah, it was just them.
Yeah.
Someone played piano. I don't know if it was Vin playing piano in the background, but then there's just them kind of singing into a mic, I'm assuming, obviously. But there was that. And then there was a post a couple of days after of him working out. I'm like, okay, Vin's back in the gym. Vin's going back in the gym. Maybe he's about to do some stuff. And the post asked, what actor would you like him to see him work with? He said he's also mentioned I'm in pre-production of various films. So I'm like, okay, he's doing various films. We might get an announcement maybe by the end of the year of all these films that he's been in. We've heard rumors about The Last Witch Hunter, 2 or 3, or whatever numbers there is of those. There's been plenty of rumors about the new Riddick film for a while now.
Yeah, the one that's called Furia, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Furia, yes, and I'll get back to that in a second. But yeah, I wanted to ask you real quick, what actor would you want Vin Diesel to work with that he hasn't worked with yet?
Matthew McConaughey.
That'd be interesting. I don't know what character.
I love Matthew McConaughey. He's my favorite. He would clearly be a villain. You know what I mean? But
you know what I'm going to pick? Jaden Smith.
Jaden Smith. What about Justice Smith from Detective Pikachu?
I would
Arguably
like
a better
the idea
actor.
that Jaden Smith that hasn't done any acting in like years. Obviously, he's making music, but I would like for him to imagine him coming back to make movies, and it's with Vin Diesel, and it's in fucking Fast 10.
Was his last movie After Earth?
I think it was. And then he's like, "Wow, Dad, I don't want to be in any movies with you anymore. I'm going to be a rapper now, like you, but like better, maybe, arguably." So
parents just don't understand.
Yeah, don't understand. I actually read the other day that Will Smith like turned down The Matrix and did Wild Wild West instead.
Yeah, yep, I heard that too. Heard a lot of changed of hands in The Matrix before it ended up out the way it is.
That would have been interesting, but it kind of would have made sense for that time, like considering like where he was in terms of an actor. Anyways,
we would have gotten a fucking dope ass theme song because that was the era when he wrote the songs to his movies.
That's true. So then the next post, he actually mentions Furia, and there was a picture of him shirtless with like a some sort of like looked like a Monster Hunter weapon, to be honest. And it said that Furia may be closer than you think. And I looked up this more, and a couple days ago, article from Collider mentioned the Instagram post and they actually just did a quick timetable of when the last time Riddick 4 was ever talked about, and when it was first announced was 2015. So this movie's been in the works for 6 years. But it sounds like we're getting closer and closer. And I remember he mentioned it earlier this year, but he just made another post. And the fact that he said I'm in pre-production for various films makes me think that he's working on. One of them is the 4th Riddick film.
Oh, I see this. I see his Instagram picture now.
Yeah, doesn't it look like a Monster Hunter weapon?
Kind of. Not really.
Like
but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So there was
this also. Sorry, I just wanted to bring up too because you said 2015 is when this movie was originally announced. We also remember too, like it was 2004 when the Chronicles of Riddick came out, and then 2013 is when the next Riddick movie comes out, and like in between there, he's been working on this. You know what I mean? So, like, it's insane. Like, he announced that he wanted to do this back in 2006, and it took him 7 years to finally release that movie. So this is kind of well within that, you know what I mean? That timetable.
Yeah. Well, I hope we get something, because I think it'd be cool to add that to our list of, like, things to look forward to. Yeah, he did 2 other posts of one of him working out with, I believe, one of the F1 Formula racers, and then him and Michelle Rodriguez, and it says Happy Toretto Tuesday, baby. So with that is all the news I got for you.
Nice. That was an interesting one. Yeah, I mean we're getting Vin Diesel movies. It's weird. Like we started our Sonic movie show podcast about that movie that felt like that came and gone and it's been forever ago. And then we just did a whole bunch of just they could make a sequel in regards to the news episodes about that. And then now we're starting to get back into that kind of hype cycle. And then there's Sonic games coming out. So we're starting to get the rails are starting to actually form in front of the train for that podcast. Now for this one, I was doing hand motions you couldn't really see. It was off frame.
I understood it. I visualized you like circling a wheel on a train.
And like on the other side of the tracks, another train that was derailed in Fast 5 is now finally on the tracks again. We're starting to get more movies. Because if you remember, Chronicles of Diesel technically didn't really start until after we did an episode about Bloodshot. Blindshot would be an interesting name. And I almost said Blonde Shot, too. That's that Charlize Theron movie spinoff, I guess. Because the people that did doesn't matter. In any case, yeah, now we're starting to get like, all right, news for fucking Vin Diesel movies are starting to come in. Because, yeah, there's Furia. There is the Avatar multiverse of
I keep forgetting
bullshit.
about when is that coming out, James?
I don't know. We had F9, but like
James Cameron's been saying Avatar 2 since I was like 15. Like I
2009 was when the movie
like a
came
different
out.
Person since the first time he talked about it. I saw that movie when I was a kid.
17, but yeah.
I feel like a kid.
For 15? I have no idea.
What was it, 2009?
Yeah, 2009.
We were like
January.
younger. We were younger.
Yeah, we were in high school, yeah. Yeah, and there's like the Arc 2 video game coming out. He's got a TV show in the works.
Still to this day, that's the one thing I regret that we didn't like do something. Like I feel like in hindsight, well, granted, we didn't know in hindsight that there was going to be a Vin Diesel appearance in the Game Awards. But if there's one thing we could have like redone was just record that like 5 minutes because we were literally hollering like a bunch of crazy people.
It would have been complicated for us to do for no reason because we didn't know. Because we would have had to would have had to record. Yeah, it would have been very difficult. We're not really set up to like do a video version of us, our two Discord cams sitting next to each other. Well, that would actually be very easy in a streaming thing set up. Yeah, I'm excited for the future of Vin Diesel. Now let's talk about the past of Vin Diesel. Let's actually jump back to 2013, Fast and Furious 6, directed once again by Justin Lin, our boy. When this movie ended, and it said a Justin Lin film, I'm like, this is why Hideo Kojima likes to put that on his box arts for his video games. Because Justin Lin's a fucking G right here, and this is how you own it. Sometimes I don't really feel it whenever a director is like, hey, my film. I'm like, okay, I get it.
Have you ever seen a movie and they say the director and you look it up and you're like, I've never heard of any of these movies. No offense to them, but I'm always just like, am I supposed to like know? It's like saying like before Snoop Dogg was big. Like imagine if he was saying like a Snoop Dogg production. I guess to be fair, I guess it's on the album cover, but like, you know what I mean? It's the same thing where it's just like...
Or Chris Bridges. Who the hell is Chris Bridges? Oh, he's got to change his name first. Then we know who he is. Ludacris. Yes, directed by Justin Lin. Written once again by Chris Morgan. And produced by Neil H. Mortiz, Clayton Townsend, and Vin Diesel. So, this movie is titled Fast and Furious 6 with an ampersand. That's important to know. Previous movie was called Fast 5, all spelled out. The movie's first trailer aired during the Super Bowl, and it called itself Furious 6, which is what the opening credits for this movie call it. Marketing also called this movie Fast 6. Also, the number 6, not 6 spelled out like Fast 5.
I wish they went with Furious 6.
Now, eventually, Furious 7 is what that movie's called.
I guess that's fair.
So they basically wanted to redo the idea. Or just, we didn't do this, so let's make sure we do it this time. We have an opportunity. But Justin Lin basically says that the decision to name the film Fast and Furious 6 is on Universal. And therefore, the official movie's title is Fast and Furious 6. Fast 6 and Furious 6 were marketing ideas that they had around, but I think it probably comes down to an attempt to, as this movie has had for 4 times in a row, attempt to redo the brand. And I feel like they probably were a little nervous of like, hey, if we call this Furious 6, will people know it's a sequel to Fast 5 and the previous movies? Which now, as we know, they clearly don't give a shit, and that's for the better.
I was going to say, if you just... Okay, Like, this isn't even that long ago. So, like, for me, if I saw Furious 6, and I didn't know I just never heard of Fast and Furious, I would Google that. And I imagine pretty quickly I could find something that just says, oh, by the way, this is the 6th installment of the Fast and Furious saga.
Right. And that's assuming you just see the name and not seeing Vin Diesel. Yeah. Which, let's be real, if you're not hosting a Vin Diesel podcast or listening to one, we love you. But if you're not one of those two groups of people, you know Vin Diesel as Fast and Furious, maybe Riddick.
Maybe.
That's it. If you're one of those people, not one of us beautiful people that either make a podcast or listen to said podcast. So yeah, but I'm glad. Like us. I'm glad that they get to be goofy and have the Fate of the Furious and just F9, right? But we've talked about the names a whole bunch already.
FX, baby.
So Fast and Furious 6 budget, and there is some discrepancy here, but I'm going with numbers I've seen in multiple locations as opposed to the one that's varied. $160 million US was the budget of this film.
That's cheap, I feel like.
Give me a guess for the box office.
What was the last one? On desk?
I actually don't know that number off the top of my head.
So I want to say it was like, what, 600, I think? 700? I think that might have been worldwide.
626, about, million.
So, okay, that's what I thought.
Was the last movie. And the budget for that last movie is about $125 million.
I'm gonna say 700.
$788 million US worldwide box office.
Got the first
DVD and Blu-ray sales are about 120.
First number.
So
right?
after that, yeah. Let's begin. Basically, they made another one of these movies. Can you believe it or not?
Shocking. It was making money, and they decided to make another one.
Yes. But I do want to bring special attention, as we will find out, especially since the characters themselves point this out, mainly Roman, who does it again in F9, as we kind of retroactively remember that movie from a couple months ago. This is really where the shift changed from, all right, now this is just Mission Impossible type of stuff. Like, it isn't about drug lord dealers or whatever. This isn't a heist anymore. Those were the other movies. From this point forward, it's Mission Impossible, super bad guy. We need a MacGuffin now type stuff. From this point forward, this is where the series, as we've said for four times in a row, this is where the series becomes the series in a weird way. I don't think we would be saying this again with the 7th movie. You know what I mean?
I still say
this is where it is.
F4 is the start of the more of like the high action. Like it keeps building up. It's always been building up. I think F4 onward, and F4 is the start of like, okay, we want to really we want the main selling point to be the action, the stunts, and then it just stops taking itself seriously, I think, around F5. I think F4 took itself a little seriously. Then F5, they started to be like, let's make this more playful. And then into this movie, it definitely just, they're like, fuck it.
Yeah, and then from this point on,
but who cares?
I feel like the rest of these movies plateau in the sense of, like, you can't really build bigger than this. Like, the heist was epic and awesome, and that Fast 5 is a perfect movie.
And honestly,
this
F5,
movie has a bigger...
It could have ended the saga, because it basically left it as, like, they did it.
They got what they did it, exactly. But this movie, the scope is bigger. They can't really get bigger besides science fiction type stuff of, like, there's more
maybe
planets.
Like space.
But even then, that's just emptiness. I don't know. I'm not a brilliant writer that's made $100 million films. You know what I mean? So, hey. But I think this is the last stopping point on the series has been reinvented. I did air quotes on that. Bus stop of like, all right, from this point on, no, it is all Fast and Furious 6 with different new stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But let's begin. Let's talk about this movie. We start off with the good stuff. Dom and Brian race on the mountainside and into the city on the Canary Islands. It's all tense. It's all nervous. I'm like, are they playing for keeps? What's going on? Are they chasing someone? No. It's urgent because the urgency is that Brian's having his baby. Mia is pregnant, as we know from the last movie, and I guess it's time to deliver that baby. Why wasn't Brian with her? I don't know.
They're going out to eat. They just driving.
Exactly, probably. And I like that even though it was urgent, there is still a little bit of like, but I'm going to beat you there type stuff. You don't want to be beaten to your own child's birth, huh? Type of stuff. Dom can't ever fucking let someone else win without trying to do so and feeling like that he still won because of that.
And that's what happened in F5. Remember, he let him win.
Exactly. But it was payback because he stole a victory in F4. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He cheated. But yeah, we then cut to the opening credits where we see the whole series as a hype flashback. And this is what made me really think, oh yeah, you could technically end this movie after this one. Because all threads are tied up. And honest to God, with this being the scope is even bigger than before, if they did cut it here, it would have felt great. Maybe not necessarily how the movie ends exactly, but like the idea of this movie coming together and ending, the ideas are all tied up there. But obviously we can't let that go because the movies get even cooler.
Did you notice in that hype trailer, that montage, that Los Bandoleros scene was in that?
No, but it is referenced.
I swear to God, I saw one. I'm like 90% sure.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, that's cool. Shout out to the real Vin heads out there. That's us for noticing that. You know, they put it in there for us.
Los Bandoleros is referenced, though.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
But once again, I was gonna say sorry. Once again, though, I do like that they just catch you up to speed. No pun intended. Like at least because after this movie, I feel like they don't care to. But like, and it goes back to your point of like these like last three films are like, okay, this is the start of the new Fast Saga. This is the start of the new Fast Saga. And they did it 3 times, and this is the last time. And all 3 of those movies, I believe, especially the last 2 here, all have like either a montage or quickly recap everything. Yeah, in a good way.
And this movie does a good job with that too, because there are moments where some of the key characters weren't there for the events of Fast and Furious, the 4th film, so they can earnestly ask, who's Braga? And have that work. That doesn't feel forced because they have no fucking idea, and it's important for them to know in that moment. And hey, it's a perfect way for the audience to know who the fuck Braga is. I happen to have remembered. I've completely put the wrong face to the name, though. When I saw him, I'm like, oh yeah, that is that guy. Weird. But yeah, no, you're right on that completely. So now, in Moscow, Hobbs, a.k.a. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, meets up with an actress we no longer mention by name.
Oh, I didn't even know that was her, by the way, until Bryn pointed it out like halfway through. She's like, isn't that? And I'm like, oh, yeah. Huh.
I remembered she was in this movie.
For some reason, I think it was like her hair or something just looked different. So like I just didn't register that. I'm like, oh, that's her.
I just remember like being like, she's not that bad of an actor, guys. Okay, maybe. I don't know. And then now I don't have to defend her.
Her acting was bad. It was more of just, her outside of work.
I didn't know anything about that until it blew up. Basically, because it's important to mention this, I think her name is Gina Carano.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Actress, actor, I guess actor is the term we would want to use. Been in a few action movies like this. Last thing I think she ever did was the Star Wars Disney Plus show, I almost said Boba Fett, Mandalorian. Basically, outside her acting career, very anti-Semitic, and we don't need to go further on that. Basically,
just Google it. Literally,
just a lot of people that said, "Hey, let's walk away from this one for better reasons." So she's a piece of shit, apparently. I mean, don't you have to take my word for it? You can just look at her own what she says, and you understand.
Just Google it.
Yeah, unfortunate, but whatever. It's not like this movie is that big of a loss. She's not that big a deal of it.
She's not in all of them.
No, she's just in this one and she dies. Mandalorian would be interesting. Like, Disney doesn't give a fuck. They're gonna make their money off of her. But, yeah. In any case, they think they got a guy that can lead them to their target. It's a Russian man that can lead Hobbs to Shaw. And this, Devin, is where he says the woman line. Now, he does it a couple times. But he says woman, dresses her as woman. I keep subtitles on, so I know for a fact what people say when I do for the podcast, when I watch movies for the podcast here. And I saw it, and I'm like, Oh yeah, we thought that was in the last movie. No, it's in this movie like 3 or 4 times where he just calls her woman.
Yeah,
like,
and I'm just like, man. I mean, I know it's not The Rock, but I'm just like, makes the character just so much more douchey.
But awesome. It's just
I love his
hilarious.
toxicity.
Meanwhile, Vin Diesel wakes up on a beautiful morning in a beautiful bed with Elena from Fast Five. I called her a different name in that episode.
I jokingly during this part, I was like, this, because I've seen, doing VNN, I've seen clearly like his house or his like backyard, and it's like a villa, nice, modern looking thing. And I'm always like, this is his house. It's not far off from this. This is what I imagine his day to day is actually like. He wakes up next to his wife.
This is also like the
he looks
third
outside
movie
and there's a
that
sunset.
this happens in, where it's always just like a beach house in like some like Latin America or Latin part of the world. You know what I mean? He's wearing white linen. The morning sun breaks through the windows on his bed with a woman in it.
That's what I'm saying. It's like a Greek legend or something where like after our hero does his task, you can always find him in his home, and it's always a little bit different every time the tale is told, but it's definitely the same idea.
It's got the same elements
Him,
in it. It depends
a
on who's
babe
telling it.
In the sun, open
Exactly.
window, no one's
Beach.
bothering him, super peaceful.
Exactly. He puts on his classic outfit and goes outside to see Hobbs,
I
who,
imagine
as we
that's his
know,
whole dresser, by the way. I've always imagined that.
guarantee it.
Just-
he probably has a couple jackets. He's got
Yeah,
the Toretto jacket for sure, right? He wears it at the end of the movie. I bet when I saw that at the
Whole
end
drawer
of
of
the
just
movie,
blue jeans, Wrangler.
when I saw
And
the
Levi.
perfectly kept Toretto jacket that I guarantee has bullet holes in it from previous movies and burn marks and shit. I guarantee it's probably the same one, but he goes to like a super expensive dry cleaner and says, "Make this look crisp as fuck. Here's $3 million. It was my dad's."
Yeah, and they're like, there's like blood all over this. I don't know how to clean it.
Water. Just make it work. Here's $3 million. I'm sure you'll find a way. But yeah, Hobbs is outside. Hobbs, as we know at the end of Fast Five, says, "I'm going to find you." And he did. Apparently it was pretty easy. He's just standing there.
Yeah, because that was my one like plot hole, and I hate, like, once again we've talked about this where like we don't care too much about plot holes maybe as much as these other people do, or who take it way too seriously, and like nothing can be fun around those kind of people. That's my one like plot hole that like I thought about for a minute. Didn't really bother me that much, but I just have to point out that like, yeah, because he said like, "I'm gonna find you," and like, "No, you won't," and like then the Rock's like, "Yeah, well, you're pretty easy to find." So I'm like, two things. One, the Rock's or Vin's full of bullshit. Dom is full of bullshit rather. And also, like, okay, if The Rock was like that eager to find him, clearly he wasn't. So they both lied. They both lied.
Right. Exactly.
In that situation.
But I think obviously really happened is what our writers envisioned the next movie was going to be like when writing the ending for Fast Five is different than what they decided to write, obviously. And they did the best. And they sum it up on one line: "We're in a place that you can't be extradited from."
Yeah.
I forget what country this was supposed to be in.
Spain or whatever it was. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like I feel like again, if he wanted to find them, he would have stopped them from going in, but or find a way to get them to leave the country.
I just thought it
and
was
then
funny
fuck
that
them.
I'm just like, so that cool line was just kind of like, y'all were just being beefheads.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter anymore because he needs them for something. Hobbs needs Dom and his crew to hunt down Owen Shaw, and he knows Dom will do it because Letty, who died, is on the bad guy team. Shows him a photo. It's always the perfect black and white security cam photo that's framed
Getting
perfectly.
gas or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Paying.
We
with
all gotta get
cash.
gas.
Exactly. Never talk to the police. We cut to Roman in a private jet with some babes, then cut to Tej hacking an ATM open for people for fun, then to Han
which I
and
appreciate,
Giselle
by the way.
who are caught by the police.
I appreciate him giving money out. I mean, I still think he should be taxed more, but I will let you slide if you steal money and you just give that to the people. Like you don't have to steal money because you're a millionaire at this point, right?
Right.
He's like, nah, I like stealing shit still.
I don't even take the stuff. I just like the act of the steal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. I'm like, okay, Respect.
Yeah, because there's people calling on. I said, you used to be Robin Hood. Now you're just, the money has changed you. And we get a line of like, yeah. And honestly, I completely forgot about this part, obviously, in the movie. And I'm sure I will forget it as soon as this episode is done. But when he's like, money has changed me. I know money doesn't grow on trees. I'm like, oh, wow. And I just assumed that was the end of it. I'm like, huh. I mean, yeah, right. It's not like he has a job. Eventually the money will run out. He's going to start to tighten up his grip on his spending eventually, right?
Yeah.
It's probably what he is. He's the shrewd, businessman, I guess. Oh, wait, no. Of course not. Of course he's still one of the G's. All three of them get a call from Dom, and they all go immediately. Now, they don't really do a good job of showing how Han and Giselle being caught by the police, if that was connected to that.
I think it was. I think it was like, that was the only way they could get the message to him, kind of thing, because they're always like moving around. I think it was more of like, it was weird. I think I agree. I don't know if they could have executed that better, but that's my impression, is that like they got caught, but it really was just to tell them, hey, you need to call to arms. Mm-hmm. Our lives are in danger. Well, not mine, not yours, but
the family's in danger. So yes, ours. Now we're with Brian and Mia and their son, Jack. Dom rolls up and they chat. Dom shows Letty's file and they set off to London, baby. And I liked this scene. Yeah. I liked when Vin Diesel hands him a little tiny black Dodge Charger.
Yeah, that was cool.
It's like, no, but this is going to be his first car. And like, they're just, again, just two toxic dudes forcing their hobbies on an infant.
I would have taken
You're going to like the car. It's like, Dad always made me play sports. I just want to play, the trumpet.
You will like the Red Sox,
Exactly. It's the Red Sox house. Dad, I don't even know what those are.
I have no Red Sox.
I make Gundams. Like, what? This is boring. And baseball is boring. There, the rest of the crew shows up, and Hobbs briefs them. At one point, he shoots a vending machine, and Tyrese looks legitimately flustered when that happens. That was some good acting. I'd like to think that might have been improv, because there's another scene that's improv later on that we'll get to. And obviously, him shooting a gun at the thing was not improv, because they had to actually blow it up. But for real. And it wasn't a real gun.
They're like, yo, this scene.
Here,
like,
hold this gun.
The director only tells The Rock this. But like, yo, I want you to shoot.
I'm giving you a literal loaded gun.
One bullet.
That's all you need, because you're only firing it once. But yeah, I want you to... Well, you just... You know what? You decide. Use this in this scene.
He's like, make a disruption. Figure it out.
Here's the script. Tyrese is going to ask which one of these coins is $1, and we're gonna focus the camera on him fumbling through. They're like, like when you have a whole bunch of keys, and you don't know which one opens up the door, so you that's going to be him with the coins.
Remember,
you're
impatient.
Funny.
You're impatient.
Exactly. So do whatever you want to do. I'm so fucking tired of this lame ass rapper fires a gun at a vending machine. I hear Tyrese's concerts are really weird, by the way.
We should go.
We should. I mean,
it's always
obviously
fun to
Tyrese
me that,
and Ludacris.
I was gonna say Ludacris. I think like there was the other day I was like on Twitter or TikTok or something, and a video came up, and it was like this clearly like early 2000s, late 90s kind of beat, and there was someone talking, and all of a sudden I see Ludacris pop. I'm like, I just forget sometimes that like he was like the shit. Like in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like he was the shit.
And he's one of the smartest rappers ever, because he knew that wouldn't be forever, and he found a very successful out in the film industry. You know what I mean? I guarantee it, that this film franchise has made him more money than his musical career. I guarantee it. Guarantee it.
That's commitment.
So good on him. And I'm sure that fucking Jif peanut butter, whatever the fucking thing I always see on fucking Twitter now, at a block Jif because of Ludacris. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm tired of seeing that man eat a spoonful of peanut butter with a fake ass wig afro. The tweets are always like, it's a match made in heaven. I'm like, shut the fuck up. You don't understand your branding. You're leaning way too hard into this. This could have been like weird, goofy, and therefore interesting, but it's like Puppy Monkey Baby. Remember that stupid Super Bowl commercial? Of course you don't, because it was trying to be so fucking weird. It was awful. Moving on. We cut to nighttime, and they think they found Shaw, and they send in the guy Hobbs caught. At some point, we learned Interpol is under attack, and the team splits up, leaving Dom to stay with Hobbs to get Shaw.
It's pretty ballsy to attack Interpol out of like all the things to attack.
So this movie, and I think this is a good stopping point, not stopping point, good point to pause the recap, and let's talk about the overall plot, like the sequence of events in the terms of like what's going on here. So Hobbs and the woman catch one of Shaw's men. Hobbs beats the fuck out of him. I forgot to put that in the thing, but he like brutalizes him in the interrogation room to get information.
Hobbs is
so they know where Shaw is going to be. But instead of just we cutting to that and not needing Vin Diesel and the rest of the crew, because that honestly would have been enough, he gets Vin Diesel and the crew. Says, all right, we need to find him. They don't do shit because we already know where he is, or at least we really think it is. We just need the guy to ID him. Then we send everyone in that has a gun and a vest known to man that are just surrounding this building
London,
that clearly anyone inside knows that there's at least a cop outside. At least one. And if you're like a Mission Impossible villain like Owen Shaw is, that's enough for you to be suspicious. Let alone, like there's like lights aimed at the building and shit. And there's flashing
they have helicopters
police cars. Yeah, it's like, bruh, you tipped him off by showing up. But whatever. This isn't like in Black Widow. I was like, what was the movie where like she got a little girl killed because she used the little girl to ID the bad guy? It was the Black Widow movie. Whatever. They could have did something like that, really low stakes. In any case, that's what's going on, right? And then like, whatever, he gets away and there's fighting and whatnot, but like the bad guy's plot is essentially he needs to collect a bunch of MacGuffins to build a super ultimate, there are no computers anymore bomb that can be sold to the highest bidder that they can use on a country if they feel
basically
it.
what everyone thought 2000 was going to be.
Yeah, oh no more computers. What will we do? But and I'm also pretty sure that this is basically the same plot in every single one of these movies going forward, unfortunately, is something like this.
What's the term? Catastrophic, or cataclysmic, rather, of a weapon. Slightly
like,
laser gun.
Yeah,
and then I think in the next one it's zombie car something gun.
No, I don't know. I honestly don't fucking know.
Or I think one of them was AI. I think it wasn't one of them like AI. That sounds like something.
I think that might have been Hobbs and Shaw. It's always something like that. A MacGuffin. And like this movie, we'll talk about where this ranks and all that stuff. I will just say this right now. I personally believe Fast 5 is a better film. If I'm just simply even comparing plot of that movie, plot of this.
Yeah.
What's going on? All the sequence of events surrounding like the main push of the plot makes sense. They all fit together. They all flow. Everything ramps up perfectly. This one, it's like, why don't they break that computer chip? It's simple questions like that where I'm like, they know what the parts they need. Why don't they just get rid of them? Why do they need this computer chip? What does it do for good people that means it needs to stay around?
It was much more to move the story along to get them to the next set.
And it just doesn't work, in my opinion, for the most part. That's why a lot of this movie is just confusing. That's why, honest to God, most of the time it's like our team splits up a lot, which I think is great. You get to see some different dynamics, like Han and Tyrese, or Han and Roman. In a couple spots where like, hey, they didn't really talk much in Fast 5. We get a lot of these dynamics, but then like when their task is done, they just poof back to the one like garage building where they have all their computers set up, and they're like, all right, now go somewhere else. Poof, now they need to be there. It's just a lot of like, we want to see people in different locations, and this is the thing for it.
But you like that in video games.
It's weird. Don't say that's not true.
You want to get to the next one, you want to fast travel all the time.
Actually, in Spider-Man, I swing around all the time. So, but with super fast SSDs, it literally is poof. But I guess I'm the only one here on this podcast that's a part of the next generation.
Microcenter.com or Newegg or whatever.
Who shops at Micro Center? Nerds. who buys a computer? Nerds. I use my Linux installed PS3 and an iPad.
I didn't even know you could do that, but I guess it makes sense.
Well, we talked about it before. That's why they got sued. That's why they got hacked, is because, and then the lawsuit was because they took that functionality out when it was advertised on the box of the original consoles. In any case, okay, so fine. They're all surrounding the building. It's a tense scene that's not really handled well, with like the henchman coming in and he's really awkward. And...
I'm definitely not like undercover or like anything like that, but
and I'm not even gonna like explain myself. I'm just here.
Sorry I was late. I was.
And he like, I know I was caught, but that's it. Because he's like, oh, they let you go, huh? And he's like, I didn't tell them nothing, I swear. Here's a bunch of money, goodbye. Like, he opens up the bag and it explodes. Shaw blows up the building and he's in and races out. And it's very weird, but like, whatever. I don't know why he was there. I think he was trying to steal one of the parts.
Well, no, he was saying before, he's like, this is part of the plan. Basically, he was a distraction so they can invade Interpol.
Right, that's right.
So he was like basically the
or
the
at the very least, if that guy didn't realize he was the bait, Owen turned that into an opportunity. Owen Shaw turned that into an opportunity to make him the bait. But yeah, Dom and Hobbs ensue a car chase on Shaw, who has an F1 looking Batmobile that can sidestep like Sonic the Hedgehog. Very interesting and kind of cool car. It can like, a part of it, since it's like a Formula One car, in the sense that like the nose goes really low, almost down to the pavement. So obviously for your aerodynamics and whatever. But this one is metal. It has like grates on it or whatever. There's a part that can flip
basically
up to make essentially like a ramp.
It basically doesn't have the frame. Like, I mean, it has like the metal frame, but it doesn't have like the plastic or whatever, how our cars are. Like if you take all that part off your car, it's going to have like a similar, not Formula One, but like it's going to have the cage kind of thing. Right. It's going to be a weird looking thing, but...
And it's something like that, very, very, very durable, like a Batmobile, and can flip cars if it flips its little thing up and rams right into the wheel.
That one TV show, BattleBots. There was definitely like a BattleBot that had the same thing where it was like slanted. So all it would do is just charge and like it would just flip other bots over and it would just fucking win. Didn't matter what the other bot had. If it had a flamethrower, a fucking blade, it would just
that
flip.
Actual live.
Yeah,
I thought for some reason I thought of like a Transformers ripoff cartoon.
No,
you're talking about like
actual...
two robots in an arena.
Yeah, and I had a Game Boy Advance game of it.
Really?
Called Battle. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I had a Cubix Game Boy Color game. That was a Transformers ripoff. Never actually watched BattleBots though, but like I've seen, I guess, clips of it, or just cool. like commercials for it on TV.
It's the only thing.
Later
it's
tonight.
the only time I've ever been like interested in like engineers.
Robotics. It's cool just to make a thing with a buzzsaw on it. Yeah. Meanwhile, the rest of the team get to Interpol and are sniped at by multiple people leaving Interpol. They then chase down their Batmobile and a set of vans. And I like this. They just got the dude up top just starts ripping off with his sniper rifle, just pow, 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 pow. At one point, Giselle almost gets beaten the fuck out with that thing before Han shows up.
And then one thing I'm kind of bummed about was like, instead of like at one point Brian gets out of the car and pulls his pistol out and tries to take a shot. I wish that they just fully committed to like them being like super OP and he just one shots that guy from like that distance nice. From with a pistol. Like that'd have been that I would have laughed if that happened. But instead the guy's like, "Oh, we need to go." And he's like, "Okay." I'm like, he could have just stayed there and they would have been fucked. Like they were literally suppressed and there was nothing they could have done.
Probably. If you really think about this series, none of these people are good at guns. I get Giselle is, and she does actually one-shot someone later on in this movie. But like, this isn't a shootout movie series. Obviously, the
cars are their weapons.
Exactly. The street exactly. It's a battleground. That was a previous episode of the Chronicles of Diesel. At one point, I gotta go up. Hold on. The vans shoot out gadgets that can target certain aspects of a car and shut it down. Brian is able to get his off in time. And they all meet up in a tunnel and then separate again. And Brian gets flipped by the blonde female version of him.
Those things. I like how the dude shoots him. I thought it was a grenade launcher.
Yeah.
Which I think would have been more effective.
Probably.
Because they clearly hit the car. They didn't try to dodge the thing they shot at them. So they just I'm just
saw someone pull out with a
was
grenade
cool.
launcher.
Don't get me wrong, it was cool. I like it. It's a movie. But I'm just if I'm in that situation, be like, bro, do we have a grenade launcher back here instead? Do we have bazooka?
What's interesting is that this idea never comes back into play in the rest of the movie.
Yeah, that's true. You think it was a build up to something, they were going to have a weapon.
Kind of like how F9 does with the magnets, where ideas introduced, the good guys take it, it is now a tool. However, there is a part where no, they make the cars so that they can't get hacked. Whatever. But eventually, essentially,
VPN.
Norton 360. Norton has a gamer-focused web browser, I think now.
Oh yeah. Freaking
so,
college.
We gotta do something.
They usually require students to use Norton.
I had Norton as a kid when I got my first computer in 2007. My dad made me put on Norton, but then I saw that the back of it I think said something about how you connect your computer account to the one that has this on, and you can see what your kids are looking at. So I just never installed it. He just handed it to me and I just never put it on. He probably had no idea about that. He also had a Mac, so he probably wouldn't have been able to do it at all. But I was like, I'm discovering porn. No, I'm not installing this. I don't want you seeing what I see. I'm 12.
I'm 12.
Where the fuck are we? At one point, Hobbs tries to jump on a Batmobile and falls off. And Dom catches up to Letty, who gets out of the car so the audience can know for sure it is her, who then shoots Dom and leaves.
Disappointed in Dom here because in a previous film, he got shot and kept walking like a fucking Terminator. And this one, that bullet, it hits him and he falls back. So I don't know if Dom getting a little old. But I think it's
not
also
the fact that the bullet.
I think
it's the fact that it was her betrayal,
his
hurt
ex-wife,
more than the bullet.
His ex-wife shot him, and he's like, I can't.
Exactly. Also, later on, he should have just said, "Yeah, we're married." I get it. That's not exactly the angle that he wanted to go for. He wanted to talk about how who she is, what she's done. You know what I mean? And how he obviously how she's important to him. But throw in the fact that you're married. Maybe even lie and say you have a kid.
That whole scene, we'll get to it later, but that whole scene could have been taken in so many different directions if you really think about it.
The team licks their wounds and talk to Mia on the phone and then talk to each other about Letty. We're like, what? Well, how could she do this? You don't turn her back on family even when they turn their back on you.
That was one of my quotes that I had. And I'm like, no, actually, if one of my family members was someone who let's say was in the January 6th attempt to overthrow the government, I probably would distance myself from them as far as I possibly.
See, but when Vin Diesel says you never turn your back on family, correcting someone that's your family is not turning your back on them. Going to them,
but if they're wanted by the CIA,
if I had a family member that was a mass murderer, I would be doing them a favor and be doing them right by putting them in the ground. That still is not turning your back on family. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I think that's turning back.
We cut to Letty returning to bad guy base, and they learn a bit about our heroes, but not enough. And it leaves Letty confused and nervous. And I want to pick this scene a little bit. Again, it doesn't fucking matter for the sake of the movie, because this movie needs to go places. Even if it doesn't execute very well, still a very fun ride. I still, however, have a little bit of fun picking on scenes like this one. Letty walks in clearly late. obviously because she's the only one that ever stopped a car at one point and got out. So everyone else just kept moving. She goes in and they're all just like chilling, doing work. Shaw's just kind of like, oh, whatever, right? And
so hard
he's like,
being
we
me.
need, and like he says like, are you okay or whatever? And like she's like, yeah, we're good. And then he says to like the group, we need to find out who these people are. Blah blah blah. And then the one blonde lady says, okay, and then just pulls out a folder with all their information. What did she do with that folder beforehand? You know what I mean? Like the way he phrased that wasn't
Interpol. I think is where they got that shit. It's the only thing I can think of.
Probably, but like the way he phrased that
you're
question.
Like, oh wait, hold up. Let me grab these files on these people real quick.
The way they phrased that question, or way he phrased that question, is like, all right, we need to start to look. As if he didn't realize they had a folder. Just funny that they had these like...
We have a folder about every single criminal actually in the back. Let me just grab it quick.
Right. And it's all exactly these people. But it's not enough. It's basically just who they are, which is weird. And also like... It doesn't line up with later in the movie when Braga tells Brian that Owen Shaw knew everything for years. And that's how, as soon as Letty got into his custody, it was over. So, doesn't line up there a little bit.
I still just think Shaw just wanted Letty as a future mate. And I say it like that because that dude is creepy. He had very just like...
I will say though...
vibes. Like the way he was standing over, I'm like, stop, don't do that to my girl. No. See, if Vin saw that.
He's trying to be he's a bad guy being intimidating.
If Dom saw that.
If you don't count The Rock in Fast 5, this guy is still the best villain the series has had thus far. Right, easily. Easily. Unless you count The Rock, because he is a foil in Fast 5. Then obviously he takes the cake.
Eventually, once they do the Fast and Furious Jurassic World crossover, Indominus Rex will be the hardest and coolest villain, I think, in the Fast saga.
Let's hold off on coolest till we see it, okay? Let's just... Dinosaurs aren't real. They never were, okay? That's why we keep making up shit. Oh, first they're purple, now they have feathers, whatever.
Sure.
Now they're on PBS Kids.
I haven't seen it in real life, so they don't exist.
Exactly. Therefore, World War II never happened.
Prove to me it did, you know?
Exactly. That's just your opinion. I have literal evidence. It's just your opinion, though. That does nothing for me. Back at the team, Roman points out how the bad guys look all like mirrors of themselves, and Hobbs finds them a list of places to go and people to see and stuff like that for the bad. It's just
I did like that.
Honestly,
I did like that scene though, where he's like, "This is basically us," and I'm just like,
exactly.
"That's like," I'm like, clearly, like that was picked up on as the audience really quickly. But the fact that like they mention it and just kind of break that fourth wall a little bit, being like, "Well, these guys could be us." Like, yeah, it's like the Venom to the Spider-Man. Like at this point.
I like the casual racism of him just saying the Asian man is clearly Han, and I'm just like, oh, okay. And then like the only person that's like actually like laughing at the shit is Brian. He just give a middle finger. It was like, Brian, when did you pose for this photo shoot? You know what I mean? Like, clearly no one else. Obviously Tej. When he just says, "Oh, an African in a beanie," it's you, Tej. Whatever. We actually barely see that guy, too, which is interesting. He like only has one line, and it's like when he's driving a car on the runway at the end, I'm pretty sure. Tej and Hobbs go to a fancy car show and get profiled by some British dude.
Yeah.
It's a funny scene because not that scene exactly, but you know it leads up to a payoff of some sort. Just in the way it kind of ends that little segment. But yeah, just like racially profiles these people so hard. If I saw, honest to God, not The Rock, I guess let's just pretend that's not an actor and that was a guy.
Freak the fuck out.
Yeah. But like if you saw
The Rock's here.
The way Hobbs, the way he looks dressed standing there, I wouldn't be like, oh, this clearly is not a place for you. Like, I would assume that man has money. I can just look at him like he has makeup on to make him look sweaty.
Dude's wearing like Under Armour. Under Armour ain't cheap.
No.
Just because it's athletic wear doesn't make it not. Go to like any Under Armour or like a Dick's or something. Just look at Under Armour or Nike, any of the main brands. Shit's like $45, $50 for like a dry fit shirt. So like, yeah, I'd be like, okay, he's at least has an income to spend on athletic wear, and he's clearly ripped enough to go to a gym, which also costs money, or he owns a gym, which also costs money, and clearly has enough time to go to the gym, which means he probably has a good job.
He also is tall and handsome, which means he has money. Unlike me, who is short and not handsome, and I have no money. Han, Giselle, Roman, and some woman go to a guy harpooning with some harpooning things in the middle of nowhere near a car, which I thought he was going to harpoon the car, but he doesn't. He harpoons something else. Giselle and the other woman go to talk to him to figure out his connection to Shaw. Also, Roman tries to pick on Han, and it backfires pretty good. Yeah, I like that Roman in this movie is just like a punching bag, but he always starts it.
Like
no one starts to pick on him.
Yeah,
it's always him that starts it, and then it comes back around. When he says, when he figures out that Han and Giselle might be an item, which I thought was obvious to everyone in Fast Five.
Why were they in Tokyo together or wherever they were?
I don't think it was Tokyo because the subtitles on the movie said he was speaking in Cantonese. The guy that was giving her the food.
Oh, okay.
So not Tokyo, and I think they don't want to put it there.
Ignorant American coming out. Sorry,
you don't speak Cantonese like me. It's a lie. I don't speak Cantonese. I only speak American. So I'm very obviously cultured.
Americana.
Yeah. So he's basically he kind of figures out that Han and Giselle is an item, and he's poking fun at that. And he said, "You either need a big rock or big somewhere else, if you know what I mean." And Han's like, "Is that why all your girlfriends have lots of jewelry?" And of course, all it takes is like a shot at Roman's ego to fluster him and just silence him. And he has that dumbfounded look on of like, what? I didn't know it was possible to say something like that. He's always doing that in this movie.
He thinks he's 2 steps ahead, but he's always like 3 steps behind.
And I love the character, by the way.
I love him. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, exactly. Even though I hear Tyrese in real life ain't that cool of a guy, at least the character's funny. Meanwhile, Brian has a lead based off the bullet that Letty shot Dom with. There's something with the pawn shop.
Which I like that
UK can't have
Dom
handguns.
just takes out of his body, like himself. He's like, yeah. Just pulls it out.
And
he just patches it up with like
could have gotten a medic. Yeah, he doesn't get it stitched. He got shot.
Maybe he did stitch it himself, but yeah, he just like slaps on gauze. He's like, I'm good. Like, dude, if someone shot me, especially in that spot where you can like risk getting your like shoulder shattered or something like that, I'm taking out work forever. Like, I'm getting shot.
Well, here's the thing.
I get like this is life and death.
So fucking muscular that the muscles when he was shot slowed the bullet down.
Does it work
barely
like
even
that?
went in. When you're Vin Diesel, yeah, he. I
feel like that's a MythBusters thing they missed out on. Like, would the Hulk actually be able to take rounds?
Would the Hulk actually be able to take gamma radiation?
I'm saying the Hulk is real.
It's a cartoon.
Comic book.
Turns out Tej bought all those cars and humiliates the British man from before. It's like, again, like this kind of 15-minute segment here is like, Roman and Han get to have a moment because they didn't have before. Tej and The Rock actually was a funny moment of like them getting jointly humiliated and then jointly get back at the guy. The Rock is like, you're not going to steal these cars. And no, I bought all of these cars because the crew needs cars, obviously.
I kind of disagree.
Scene went on a little long.
Yeah, so say the scene went on a little long, and I'm like, this is sexual harassment.
He racially profiled them.
Yeah, yes, but it doesn't mean we had to
and
harass them.
To be fair, he didn't need to do that. The sale was done. That's just one of those like keeping a return customer type of thing. It's a sales
it's just
tactic,
classism
Devin.
too. It's classism as well. But y'all ain't ready for that conversation.
Sure.
Yeah, we did watch
Okay.
the director's cut or whatever, extended edition. I wonder if that is the extra 5 minutes is like why it's so long.
Shit, I never looked that up.
I think it was like a difference of like 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure, and it might have been the credits. We don't know. The credits is just longer. We actually gave credit to the janitors at Universal. Maybe the extra 5 minutes in the credits is for the Sonic team from Sonic Colors Ultimate. They just added a little bit.
Okay, so just briefly looking up what the differences are. It's all basically extended stuff to the fight scenes. It's just more punches and stuff for the most part.
Oh.
It's like, later on, the extended scene, or in the extended version, which we watched, when spoilers for the latter part of this movie that you already saw for this episode, Brian fights Braga in jail or whatever, and then like tortures him. Him stabbing him in the leg wasn't shown in the theatrical. It was like panned up or something, so you didn't actually get to see the knife in his leg. But you saw the fact that he did it. You didn't actually get to see it. So it's a lot of that kind of stuff, which is just like how Fast Five's director's cut extended edition, whatever it was called, had blood. And like scenes where like when The Rock like just nukes someone with his gun, it hangs on that a little bit longer. You know what I mean? So, but interesting. I definitely appreciate that these exist. Don't remember that fact that it was like that when I was watching the movie though.
Yeah. Too fast, too furious.
They need to bring that back. Dom and Brian go to a pawn shop to find a lead to Letty, while the other team gets snuck up on. They're going to the pawn shop. They need to find out who bought the gun. It's weird that Owen Shaw just let this happen. And he's, again, Mission Impossible villain. Let's go to a traceable establishment.
Well,
pawn shops are traceable.
What's her name is in on it, too.
Fair enough.
While she's there. So she already knew.
She wasn't involved with the gun thing, though. Because she is with Giselle, who are interrogating the weird harpoon guy who...
Oh, they're talking about them because they get the guy texts the people to come...
Exactly. Well, he doesn't necessarily text him. He calls them and just lets the phone there so they can hear them
Which
talk.
I definitely would have heard. Also, like, if someone called me, I'm saying hello.
You're not a super villain.
I'm not going to answer
in any case,
because I knew.
In any case, the rest of the boys, including Letty, show up there to fight them.
Yep.
We get a chase going on. Giselle shoots and kills one of them. She one-taps him. And Han and Roman get humiliated by this man. They both... And it's like... Of course, these guys don't fight. I watched Too Fast, Too Furious in between our episodes about the Fast and the Furious and Tokyo Drift, just because I want to make sure I watched them all. I know you didn't. I saw Roman and Brian fight. I watched Paul Walker and Tyrese fight. It is embarrassing. They can't fight. And of course, Brian's not here, but it's Roman and Han, and they can't fight. They try.
That's why they're behind the wheel.
They can't fight.
That's why they're behind
exactly.
the wheel.
That's where they belong. Not everyone needs to be a fighter. You know what I mean? You have Vin Diesel is essentially that's what that's for. Everyone else drives a car. Giselle has the guns, but
Everyone's
she's not
a
like
specialist, and then Vin's just the all around. I can do everything pretty much, outside of like tech stuff. Like that's like his main character is I fight brawl, and I also can drive fast and drive skillfully.
He's Goku.
Yeah,
he's Goku. Essentially, he's gonna have a tail at one point, and his hair's gonna turn yellow. Guarantee it.
His hair is gonna turn yellow.
Down there. Letty fights the other woman and gets away. That scene was also extended in the version we watched. And like she's handcuffed and she uses that as like brass knuckles, so to speak. And like nice. I
like how like they're fighting
runs
in the subway, and I'm just like I always try to put myself in a situation where like if this happened, what would I do? And I feel like part of me would be like, should I stop him? But once you see him start doing like more like Taekwondo kind of shit, no, I'm not stopping him. If it was like just average two people brawling.
Why would I stop him? I ain't gonna get involved.
They start doing like some lethal blows where I'm like, someone's gonna die. That's when you stop them. If they're just like, okay, first one on the ground.
That's not your business.
No,
you let them die.
No,
you could call police. That's what you do. You don't need to involve yourself.
No
one calls the police.
We're gonna self-police out here.
Honestly, it's probably better off that way.
Exactly.
Yeah, but how humiliating. All these people watched Han and Roman get their asses beat.
I wish everyone had cameras out. I feel like they could have added to a bit later on if everyone had their cameras out recording this, and then like later on there's like a quick scene where they're like we're all over YouTube getting our ass kicked.
Oh, you know how like Roman says to Han, no one needs to know about this, we don't tell anyone. And Han does like kind of even dazed, he kind of just nods. He doesn't even really have anything to say about it. If it was filmed, it would have been a funny thing because again, Tej and Roman always had that thing going on. Tej's just watching it over and over again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? In the scene later on, just watching.
On repeat
I like this
too.
part.
It's like a GIF
I like
or
this part
something.
right here
Yeah.
as Roman walks by, and it's like when he's he's getting his face clocked in or something. But back at bad guy base, Letty doesn't like that Shaw doesn't care that one of them died. So after a chit chat, she goes out for a race, and this is where you get your he's really intimidating and leaning up. However, I do want to point out the fact though, her car very cool looking. Letty has always been silver cars. I don't know what type of maker model they have always been. She always drives silver, even in an F9.
Silver
her
and gold,
motorcycle's
baby.
silver. Exactly. The team meets up and figures out their next steps. Brian is going to Braga, the bad guy from F4, because he has connections to Shaw. Hobbs goes to Interpol and learns that there might be some collusion. Why is these cameras off? And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson probably literally broke that man's hand. And stuff like that. Meanwhile, the guy from F4 that got his nose broken gets Brian into the prison for 24 hours. And he gets his nose broken again. And I remember watching this, being like, yes, again, we did watch F9, obviously, more recently than Fast and Furious. And I remember seeing that his nose is broken in F9 and being like, oh, it's a neat thing that they kept. Then seeing this and being like, oh, his nose isn't broken here. And then his nose gets re-broken. I'm like, okay. Okay, I appreciate this more. Completely forgot this guy was in this movie.
I want to say, what does this guy... What does he get out of Brian? Brian is... Yeah, fucked up his nose twice. Just right there. Like, he's done... Like, he's, like, betrayed your, like, job and shit and, like, your integrity and all that. I just want to know what he gets out of it, but whatever, it's cool.
I honestly don't know. We can pull at some loose straws, but it's just neat that he's here. And again, like, this movie is tying everything together. I mean, from the previous stuff, besides Tokyo Drift, except for the fact that there's the post-credit scene, which obviously we see again in F9, which ties everything back together again, apparently, too. So, at the team base, we find out that Tej put NOS in the harpoon guns, and Han tells Dom about a street race Letty will be in. Which is cool. Han does his thing. He just has his ear to the ground and he finds out things.
Oh, and they did shoot the harpoon and it missed the Rock by like a foot.
I think it was no, it wasn't the Rock. It was Vin Diesel and Han. It was like in between the two. But like, what was he aiming at? You didn't see his friends over there?
I don't know.
Whatever. Brian learns everything from Braga in jail, and we get a retcon for the crash in F4. Turns out she didn't die there. She didn't even get shot. Dude shot the gas tank or whatever, and that was that. She just flies out.
That, Dom or Riddick, maybe. The senses would have known that. Would have known that. Because he literally, remember in that movie, he literally like...
He Batman Detective Visions that whole thing, and it's like, really?
Yeah. But I'm still just confused, by the way. Just like, what actually happened. They kind of just don't... Like
again,
the original
F9.
Because I remember like last month where we watched F5, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. She comes back. But I'm like, I was trying to remember like, but how? And like then they showed it again. And I'm like, I just don't get it still. Like she went in the brush.
Part of me is also like, I'm pretty sure that is what we knew what happened. I'm confused. Yeah.
But then they say like she will end up being in a hospital, and they found out that she just doesn't remember like at least remember like people. She knows how to drive, of course. Because you never forget that. It's muscle memory.
Exactly. She knows what she likes in her cars, though. Her personality is still the same. She just doesn't remember anything. Oh, but she claims she's a different person. Brian then gets into a fist fight in prison Everyone pulls out shanks, blah, 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 blah. This is the last where we see Braga, which I kind of wish that, like, you left a bad guy hanging there. It's more stuff could happen, but he was a small fish. Owen Shaw is the big fish. Dom enters the street race that Letty is in, and we get our show's intro. Also, a couple little fun facts for you here. There's a little boy watching this street race. He is apparently, because I obviously didn't notice this, I read this after the fact, he's apparently in a double-decker bus parked somewhere near the beginning of the race watching. The little boy is Justin Lin's son.
I thought you were going to say Spider-Man.
Yes, they retconned Iron Man 2, and yeah, exactly. The little boy is Peter Parker. Same thing here. This movie's only came out 2 years after that movie. Can you believe that?
So it works then. That kid
Exactly.
could also be Spider-Man.
Exactly. Also, the woman that starts the race that says, "This is London, baby," is like some musician actress.
No, yeah, Bryn recognized her, and I'm like, I still don't know. Because she said who it was, I'm like, oh, I don't know who that is.
I looked her up, and I forgot the name. But yeah,
it's London, baby.
Yeah. We're used to getting what we want, but then she's something about saying, "Don't take the bait," and I'm all like, British people are weird.
That's what
Dom
happens
wins
when you're
the
a
race.
colonizer all the time. You know?
You're right. Dom wins the race and reconnects with Letty, who still doesn't remember him. She leaves, and Shaw shows up. Shaw offers Dom to leave, who declines. Both are held up by snipers, with Hobbs on Dom's side, and Shaw leaves. Yeah, basically, Dom clearly proves that he knows who Letty is and knows a lot about her at the very least, because he's pointing out scars that she hasn't physically showing and saying how they happened. Not that she would know that, but she knows that they're there.
I still think you could arguably, not saying I could have done it better, but like, he could have just been like pointing at scars and been like, this is when you got in a fight on the playground. I was there. The kid pulled out a shank and fucked you up.
Right, he could have made up stuff.
Yeah.
For sure. But, no, it's interesting. Again, this is where I would have put out a line. I get it, like,
We're
the
married.
quickest
We
solution.
have 3 kids.
The quickest solution is to say the important things right off the bat, and then, I believe you. But that doesn't make for a good story. So I get it.
No, yeah, I think it was
I would have
good.
liked for that
I
to
just
build
thought
up
it'd
to,
be funny
and
that-
eventually the stupid kid that was showing off married you, and then you died. You know what I mean? He also, I think this is where either he references Los Bandoleros when talking about the Dominican Republic, which is where that took place.
Yeah.
Or like maybe the beginning of F4, but I don't think they were in the Dominican Republic in the beginning. I don't remember. But yeah.
I think it could have added more to the scar thing, been like he says a story and she's like, really? He's like, oh no, actually I really don't know where you got that one. That one I just made up. Like he tells 2 truths and then like one of them is like, I don't know.
The fact too that he also has a scar from the coral reef, it feels like I'm being betrayed because the man has no scars. I mean, you mentioned earlier was shot in F4. He doesn't have a scar there. That's not going to heal perfectly up being shot. You're going to have a scar there. But
if he pointed to that, he's like, and this is when you shot me. And she's like, I remember that.
That would have been funny. That would have been funny. That would have
Yesterday
been
you
some.
shot me.
Yeah, exactly. Brian leaves prison. I don't know how. He leaves prison. The guy said, I got you in here for 24 hours for a holding thing. Okay. So then when that's up, he gets to leave. But then he attacked his handler and got sent to maximum security isolation. I feel like your 24-hour rule is gone now. But whatever. They just needed to get him out of the jail.
Yeah. Does it go right to when he gets back already? Or is there a couple, I forget. Is there a couple?
It cuts to airport. And then it cuts to he's back.
Because I actually looked into how long of how much like flights you'd have to take, how long. Because I've flown from the East Coast to like Frankfurt, Germany, and that's roughly like 12 hours. So I'm like, okay, so he's going from the West Coast to England, and I looked it up, and it's roughly a 10 to 11 hour flight. That's just the flight, not waiting and then doing that. So. And then after that, going to Spain is another 2.5 hours. So, like,
time zones. You know, he's saving time. He's going.
I know,
the
but I'm just
opposite
saying,
direction.
like, that's a long ass day, and he up and about, like, shout out to him. After a fight too, you'd be sore. I'm just like, that's what I'm saying. Brian's underrated. Brian's underrated.
You do all that work, and Dom doesn't even want to hear what happened. He says to Brian, "What happened there was for you. What happens next is for her." When Brian's about to tell him what he found out, Dom doesn't even get to know. I almost got shanked in prison to tell you this. I got patted down by the TSA because I'm a wanted criminal for 3 days, probably. You know what I mean? Fucking.
But yeah,
Vin
no,
Diesel.
like, I'm just like that, and he didn't sleep probably that night. Let's be real. So like, yeah, I was just like, damn, he's had a long like 2 days, and no one appreciated it. No one like. But I just want to give a shout out to Brian because he flew all that, did all that, he fought 3 dudes, so he's probably sore, like I said, probably mentally drained, and he doesn't lose a step. He acts like he left for an hour. So shout out to Brian. And yeah, you know what, Dom, you should appreciate him a little bit more. Come on now.
Yes. Letty and Shaw talk, and Tej finds a spot for Hobbs to check out. And there they find paint that gives them a clue. And then the next thing I wrote down, which I'm glad I remember the context for, I wrote Samoan Thor. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
That's what Tej has as Hobbs' phone contact is Samoan Thor. And he's also referred to as the Hulk and Captain America in this movie as well. Interesting.
Oh my god, they were teasing Avengers.
And Elena is married to Chris Hemsworth in real life.
So they were telling everyone that Avengers was coming out before it even came out, right? Was it out
Avengers
yet?
was 2012. This is 2013.
Avengers 2.
The team meets up and finds out Shaw is in Spain. And they find one of Shaw's men is caught there. But Brian is smart and knows this was a part of Shaw's plan, so they try to beat him to the punch and get to the MacGuffin before the convoy gets him. Or before he gets to the convoy, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, the computer chip that we can't destroy for some reason. Again, like,
You don't understand chips.
I
so
don't care about
you
plot
can't-
holes.
It's not a plot hole. You don't know anything about chips.
I don't care about plot holes, as we mentioned in previous episodes of the show and the Sonic movie show, if it's in service of the story. I'm okay with the ludicrous saying, "I had a life before you met me, Brian," in Fast 5. That is a simple way of writing around it. There is no simple way of writing around this. They don't even attempt to. No one says, why can't we destroy it? You can't destroy it because it's connected to all of the world's computer systems, and if this is destroyed, it fucks everything up. Easy line right there. Something simple. Yeah, they could have said anything.
You don't understand computer chips. All right? Not like they do.
Sure. We're now at the big convoy set piece, complete with a tank, and hey, this is where our show art's from. Not yet, though, because the tank is blowing stuff up, running people over, and almost crushes Roman. But some smart plays from Roman and Brian get an anchor tied to the tank. And this is very interesting. So that guy that was the guy that beat up Han and Roman in the subway, he's in a couple scenes in this movie. And that obviously being the only one that's like really important for him. A lot of work probably did in that. 2 days to film that. But apparently he did such a good job that Justin Lin decided, you know what, you can man the tank thing in this scene if you want to sit here.
Oh,
So apparently
nice.
he wasn't supposed to be in there. Yeah, you did a good job. You get to sit in the tank. Also, Universal people said, hey, let's CG up the tank. Let's make it CG. And Justin Lin said, no, we need an actual tank. So that was an
Thank
actual
God.
fucking tank. Yeah.
Because it looked good. It looks great, so...
I don't know how... I didn't know they can go that fast.
I'm not a tank expert, but from what I remember reading, like I feel like most tanks can go like 40 to 45 miles an hour, like some of the, but those are like older tanks. So these are modern. I feel like a modern day tank probably can go a good 60.
Damn. It also just felt like our cars were racing.
Expert, on war tanks, let us know.
They did a lot of post, obviously, edits and effects. So like maybe they just made the tank faster. I don't know. Speed up the tank.
Too fast.
Let's apply the patch, the day one patch.
Yeah.
Now we get the most iconic shot in the entire series, and the one that solidifies an entire new law of physics. When two people are flying through the air, the heavier person, when they collide, carries the momentum as if he was never stopped. And B, landing on a car is safer than landing on a nice soft mattress. He slams into that car. And later, Letty even says, how did you know there'd be a car to break our fall? What the fuck do you mean by that? You could have hit the concrete and it would have done the same effect. You hit glass. Your tailbone shattered, lady. What do you mean a car to break our fall?
But the way she says that almost implies that, like, she's seen him do that before. Or seen someone or something has done that before. Or there's a similar situation that's happened where, yeah, we jump onto cars all the time and, like, it hurts, but it's not that bad. They do, but nothing like this. And then from here on out, you see the car. F9, motherfucker using magnets to line cars up for his buds to slam into. You know what I mean? That's You're
like
right,
as if he...
You are right. Like, this starts, like, the new physics of this world. This
right?
fast world.
And, like, minutes prior, Roman jumps off of his Mazda or whatever he was driving, Mustang. Yeah, he drives Mustangs. He jumps off his crumpled Mustang that he tied the thing to the tank to, right? And he jumps onto Brian's car, and he jumps realistically. They're going the same direction. He jumps, and his arms are scooped out to grab, like the top of the car through the windows. That makes 100% sense. I don't know if he would have been able to pull it off in real life and yada, yada, yada.
I think his car would have been crushed in real life, but...
Right. But that was realistic in a sense. And
Yeah.
then they immediately jumped to what we saw. And, like, I love it.
I remember
it's a
when we
reason
first
why
watched
it's our
that,
art.
like 2 years ago, and we were like, no fucking way.
We watched that multiple times.
Yeah, we reversed it. We're like, what? No. Like, where did this... It's not on the left field, I would say, but it's so ridiculous in a good way that it still just leaves you like... You have to, like... I'm glad we were able to reverse it the first time we saw it. I can't imagine seeing that in theaters and like, moving on with the film. Yeah.
Because it moves so fast, too.
It happens so quick. He literally, like, also, like, flies, basically. Like, he almost, like, pops out, like, almost like in a video game where, like, like, sometimes you break a game and, like, your character model, like, gets off a vehicle really quick and, like, 20 feet away. He had, like, speed.
Which is funny, too, because the car was moving fast, but he turns last second. His inertia is going to keep him moving forward, not that same speed to the left.
He actually captured all the speed from the car as he's flying. I think that's what he did. He's a mutant.
Car.
He's a
I don't think the
X-Men.
car. Did the car go anywhere?
I don't know. All I know is that he's a mutant, actually. This is actually tied into the X-Men in some way, because dude just absorbed speed and inertia and was able to... He also... Maybe that's how he's indestructible, because he's half car. I don't fucking know.
Any case, the tank is flipped. Shaw has been captured, and the day has been won. Government man dude questions why Letty isn't behind bars, which is a good question, and the team steps up. And even Hobbs is like, no.
Tank is that they have it flipped over. Some dude can still be shooting. You can just shoot out the bridge and just take out everybody. I was thinking about that. I'm just like, they've been funny. They're like, he's like, fuck it, we're taking out everybody. I'm not gonna let this be the end of it. But
honestly, probably. Hobbs visits Shaw in his cell. Brian apologizes to Letty, and Han talks with Giselle. I want to point out something right here. When Brian approaches Letty and apologizes, now that she knows, something about this felt weird. I couldn't put my finger to it. And then I looked up and I realized this is the only time ever that Brian and Letty talk to each other alone. Or even just directly to each other.
Is it?
The only time.
Ever?
Only time.
In the whole Fast series?
Ever. That they have a conversation to each other. Ever.
Some family, huh?
Right? Vin Diesel's always there.
They're basically the equivalent of like Facebook friends.
Probably.
They're like, oh, I support what you do. I'm just going to like that and move on. Not going to like... But when I see you at Christmas, I'll be like, hey, what's up? How are you? Good, great. How's work? Great. And then I'm going to move on to the next conversation.
Your life got ruined because of me. But she says, okay. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't want to. So, But I mean, what would you say?
Well, fuck
you don't remember. Exactly. Dom and Letty talk, and Hobbs brings out Shaw to tell them he's got Mia. And everyone's like, dun, dun, dun. Oh, yeah, I forgot where the blonde lady went and the big man. Turns out they went to go capture the baby. But turns out Elena got the baby, but Mia couldn't come too for some reason. Maybe she's just too afraid of heights. She would have had to jump down that thing, you know? Mm-hmm. They have to let Shaw and his men go. And the woman was secretly one of Shaw's people, and it's just played so terribly. But I love the fact that this movie ties something over from Fast Five. The fact that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson carries a fucking hand cannon, and you see that shot of him just extending it directly at the NATO man, breaking the law.
He's broke multiple laws at this point, but
like,
since he's a tie to the United States, he gets away with it.
Yeah, I'm nodding my head, yeah. And I mean,
he went to the freaking security of Interpol or whatever and broke a dude's hand and threatened everybody in there, being like, "You're gonna give me all this shit because I'm America. He is America."
You're goddamn right. As they leave, Tej jams their phones, and the team chases Shaw immediately down the runway. But they already had Mia, so I guess it didn't matter, because they could have just immediately shot her, because they knew they were being chased. But sequence of events happens really rapidly. You can kind of just, as a viewer, not really pay attention to that. But yeah, no, I mean, I did appreciate that, like, oh no, all he needs to do is just call them and Mia's dead, because we assume she's still in wherever they are. The Canary Islands, I think, is where the baby was born. Maybe they're still there too. But you know, Tej immediately jams all the phones in the area. Like, that's smart. If that was possible, that's smart. You know what I mean? That's what you do. Mm. But then, obviously, they just had Mia anyway. Because she probably wanted to actually be in the movie, too, you know? She is fourth billing. She's above Tyrese and Ludacris and everything. She's fourth billing. After The Rock, and then Brian, or Paul Walker, and then Vin Diesel, right? Mm. So, Mia's on the plane, and Dom gets in, fighting time. And then I just wrote down a list of events without much sentences, because this movie was going by really quickly. So I'll just stay stuff out. You want to stop me at any point, stop me at any point.
I will say that this is the longest runway of all time.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was one of my mentions. Someone calculated, in terms of the time that the plane started on screen to be moving, and the amount of time it was doing that, if at like the calculated speed and blah, 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 I don't know. I didn't look at how they did it. I just literally saw the number. They calculate 18 miles.
Oh my God.
We're talking about Fast and Furious 1 having the longest quarter-mile race ever. I feel like this takes the cake then.
Well, we already know that physics are different here in this world.
You can harpoon a fucking giant plane and just keep it down.
You also can this is what I wrote. A person out of a plane as well.
My favorite scene of this movie, especially now with the 2021 context. Okay, it starts off, I wrote all my sequence events like this. Giselle harpoons the plane. Hobbs is on the landing gear. Dom and Brian fight Shaw and crew in the plane. Dom does a flying headbutt. It just does not look good at all. You see that? He headbutts the bigger man, but it just looks really bad. He's like, does a jumping headbutt.
It was goofy, but I appreciated it still.
Brian gets Mia out of the plane in a car. This runway is 70 miles long. Hobbs and Dom versus Big Man and Shaw. Roman fights on the runway with Tej. The plane begins takeoff. Roman harpoons the plane too. Letty harpoons the woman off the plane. I wrote Ring Team Bitka.
Bitcoin?
Something this bitch. I don't know. I wrote down what Letty said, and I obviously misspelled everything. Ring Team Bitk? I don't know. Brian harpoons plane. Giselle is getting beaten up, and Han goes to rescue her, but she purposely falls off the plane so Han wouldn't die. She's totally coming back.
The way you're reading this off reminds me of what I imagine David Cage writes his storyboards.
Screw you.
Then the character do this.
I want to talk about this, though.
No, it's good.
I want to talk about this, though. Giselle falls off a car that's maybe at most, and I'm being generous here, at most 10 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
Moving very fast, but at the very most 10, probably 5. Right? And she's falling backwards onto her back. It's a controlled-ish fall. She just vanishes into darkness. We don't get to see her tumble. Later on in the movie, Owen Shaw tumbles out of the plane that's like maybe several dozen feet up in the air, and he's in the hospital in the next movie. He's alive. Giselle is 100% coming back. They have an easier excuse explaining her way of living than Han's way of living when they retcon that 7 times.
But the retcon would have to assume that when they're like, oh yeah, she died, we ain't even going to check for her body.
But they clearly don't. We don't see that.
What if in the retcon, it's like, they do go to the body and she's like just a fucking pile of like limbs. But then
Mr. Nobody came for me too. I had a life for blah blah blah,
yeah,
and I knew.
And they're like, actually, I'm a mutant from another fucking planet. I can morph back into human form at any time.
Forgot. She's like, guys, I can survive any tumble as long as I have a couple Egyptian children to land on, just like in Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah, it just actually does a direct cut to that scene. You're like,
you could probably edit that. We should tumble. It's like, girl, you landed on children.
I think I might look into editing
Please do.
I'll put it on
She
Twitter.
landed on children in that movie instead of the other way around. You know? I have a soft spot for her, obviously. Obviously. She's 5'10", taller than me. Now, here's another thing I want to mention, too. And I like that. But here's another thing I want to mention, too. When we watched F9, you're like, it's fucking awesome they brought Han back. Is it weird how they did it? Does it feel like, okay, I get the series, you just go with it, but like, really, this isn't written nearly as well as it could be. What's going on here? But it's great that he's back. And I love it. He has like a fight scene inside the back of the van where they first find out about the magnets and all that stuff. He's doing stuff, but like really all in all, that movie and then remembering the previous movies, this man doesn't really do anything. Like in terms of like that isn't just driving and just being cool. He gets his ass handed to him in a fight. What can this man do? Well, this man throws a man through the plane's turbine. He picks him up and just shunts him straight into there. As the kids would say, he yeeted the man into the Incredibles ending scene with him, the wind turbine, and killing him, the plane turbine.
Do kids even know that? That might be old now.
No, they got the Disney Plus. That movie's on repeat on like Disney Channel, probably monthly. There's always an opportunity to watch that. The plane is blowing up. The day is won, but at what cost? Dom appears to have died in the fire, and Giselle is gone. But Vin motherfucking Diesel strolls out of the fire, which I put in caps, and the music swells. He just walks out.
I just think of Terminator. Every time I see like a dude walking out of fire, I just always think of like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And every time this happens, because like I mentioned Vin taking the bullet in the last movie or the other movie, Fast 4, and how he just keeps walking. I actually would love a fucking Vin Diesel Terminator film. It'd probably be based off all other Terminator films would be pretty bad, but like I just want to see him do that. Just him like take bullets but not make it like Bloodshot where he absorbs it. Like no, I want to see him like flesh come off and he's just fucking badass.
Jesus. They could probably do that in a Bloodshot sequel.
Yeah, but I just like the scene because like that's what I think of. I just think of like all the Terminator movies where they come out of the fire and like half their body is metal, but like that's all I thought of the entire time when he's coming out of the fire. Like that's why he was able to take the bullet, because he's a fucking robot.
And then everyone's like, oh no, Giselle is dead, and Han's crying. That's that.
I'm just like, oh, you waited for him, but like, not gonna go check in on her.
That was miles ago. Remember, this runway is at least 20.
Yeah.
Right? We get the family barbecue. The baby is safe. Han is committed to going to Tokyo. And Ludacris has a legit break on camera as he spit laughs at The Rock making fun of Tyrese. I rewound this 3 times to watch this because I'm like, this is so out of place. Because The Rock ad-libbed that line. He wasn't supposed to say anything. And he said, watch out for that big fucking forehead you have, or whatever line is. And Tyrese, or Ludacris, legitimately spit laughs off screen.
That's actually fantastic.
Yeah, that was 100% ad-libbed. Also, Ludacris is drinking Conjure Cognac, obviously his official liquor, which is also seen on one of the tables.
I didn't even realize that.
And everyone else is drinking Coronas, of course.
Yes.
You got to make sure that they bring that back. But yeah, as honestly the funniest part of that movie.
One of these days we need to like do something with Fast and Furious and Coronas. Like, I don't even drink, but like I'm willing to like.
Do we want to do a Chronicles of Diesel special where we just taste test and rank all the Corona flavors? I don't know if there are multiple. I don't really drink much. I'll have like Bud Light. And then I'll drink Corona. But, like, that's if it's around at a gathering.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. We have to do our own picnic or something. And then we have...
I guess I would...
on in the background or something. And, like, we just...
Probably. I'm lazy. I would probably drink more if, like, in Maryland, or at least the county I live in, you could buy alcohol from a grocery store. I don't want to go to a liquor store. That's weird. You know what I mean? Very weird. Just put it next to the milk. I don't understand. Kids can't drink that shit.
Put it next to
The team is legal and free. Thank you for fast cars. We now, after the credits are rolled for a bit, get the greatest and hypest after credit scene of all time. Dominic Toretto. I can't do it. I can't do a Shaw voice. He says, "You don't know me, but you're about to." And the car blows up.
But you're about to. Something like that.
Love it. I love it. I love it. And then, as future spoilers, Furious 7 kind of has that same thing in it, too, with the house blowing up. I fucking love it.
Forget their house that they get back blows. By the way, who owned that house before? Was it for sale this whole time?
Clearly no one, because when he says, name your price, he says 1337. See, if I'm going to do a bad accent that's not on character, I'm going to do the same thing for fucking Dominic Toretto, okay? Jesus.
1337.
And then, like, it pans to the house, and you can clearly see it's overgrown with weeds and shit, so no one lives there. Also, like, I'm sorry, Brian and Mia, you're about to raise a child in a luxurious home on the beach where the kid could have grown up, like, and now we're in shitty LA. I don't care if it's family. You could still own that house. You don't have to live there, though.
Though?
Mean?
They eventually, that's where, like, I think in F7 or F8, whatever, Paul Walker's last
Yeah, that's
movie.
where they go to.
Yeah.
For sure. And the barbecue at F9 ends there as well, you know. But it's just like, hey, you don't have to live there. You can own the building, though. You know? It's important for your family.
I do like, though, that, like, conveniently, there's a skyline. Because, like, the trees are all cut and trimmed perfectly so you can see the skyline from their yard. Yeah, they picked,
again, we mentioned this,
and they're like, yeah, I want to move back to LA, one of the most expensive cities to ever live in.
And not even a nice place. I get it, but again, it's sentimental. And also, remember the first movie, one of their friends dies, like, in front of the house. Remember
he
that?
Got tech-9'd,
like, down the street or something. Yeah. Hilarious. So that's the movie. I have no more trivia besides the stuff I mentioned already throughout the episode.
I wanted to point out
clean cut.
I wanted to point out that because you briefly mentioned it, that they are free now. I like that. That's their whole reasoning of doing everything is just like, oh, we want a pardon. It's like you have all the money in the world, and you're going to pick to live back in America.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Fast Five, they were fine and content with where their lives ended up.
That's what I'm
right?
saying. Well, that too, but I'm also like,
but I think the idea is like, well, if we're helping you we're really only helping you to get Letty, we might as well get something out of it too.
Dom, remember
right?
the beautiful fucking villa you had? Also, I forgot to mention at the ending of that scene.
I don't think he lives there too. I think it's just Brian and Mia.
No, his place, Dom's place with what's
Right,
her name?
he can still go back there,
I guess, but I'd rather just live there permanently, personally.
for sure. Also, oh yeah, she comes back and it's basically just like, well, your old girlfriend's back. I guess I gotta leave. And oh my god, I didn't mention this. I should have wrote it down.
I almost wish they didn't have that relationship at all because like it just felt so weird at the end. And like she's totally like, "Oh, I get it."
She talks to Letty and then she goes to leave. She says, "This is your family and this is mine." She points to the badge. She goes to leave and then Dom says, "Elena." There's a pause and I fucking said it out loud because knowing that they have a kid in the 8th movie, it's like, I came inside you. You need to stay your family now. I don't know. You could be pregnant.
God damn! But that was just so weird. That like I can't even imagine like the anxiety I would get from just watching like that IRL. Like if I was in this family and I knew that like
if you're Han or someone that's not really connected to that specifically, like, what do you do? Like, because like, not for nothing, she got like the short end. I don't care if old girlfriend that everyone thought was dead comes back. Like, you got the new one. You can't just be like, go away now. And granted, he doesn't say go away. It's her choice. But like, it's
just awkward though. Like, not even 3 days ago, y'all were like sleeping naked together in a fucking beautiful villa. You're just gonna like just act like that didn't happen. Oh, and my family's the badge. Well, good, you fucking cop.
I was gonna say she probably just prefers beating up people,
being an oppressor, yeah,
and writing kids tickets for going 5 miles over the speed limit, than living in a rich villa with Vin Diesel.
If that doesn't tell you cops are pigs, I don't know what will. If you had the choice, either A, you could be a cop, or live with Vin fucking Diesel in a beautiful villa in Spain or wherever the fuck, and you choose that. Yeah, you know what, Vin or Dom? You know what, you made the right choice.
This movie is ACAB, or the series is ACAB, as we all know.
Is it though?
Here's
really?
Our PSA.
They kind of want it working for the authorities.
Yeah, whatever. Here's our PSA, though. Never talk to the police. Never answer any questions from the police. You have no reason to. It only hurts you. Now, on the Chronicles of Diesel, what we like to do is, after talking about the movie extensively and sharing our thoughts and feelings about it, we like to rank it in 2 different ways. We have our official movie ranking list, as well as our Vin Diesel performance ranking list. So, let's talk about this movie. What do we like about it as a whole? What do we dislike about it? What are our thoughts about this movie? Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because I just opened up Chrome to like go to the Dropbox where we have our rankings, and I just see a picture of Vin like lifting weights, and he's just going, ah! That's the first thing I saw when you were like, yeah, here on the Chronicles of Diesel, we rank movies. I'm just like, just seeing his face made me laugh. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I will say first off, if we talk about this franchise as a whole, as we have like a little, I guess, mini ranking off to the side about these movies, Fast 5 is number 1 easily. And then after that, I guess we have the original as like, it's a classic. It's just great. And then after that, Fast 4. Then after that, Tokyo Drift. And then I would put Too Fast, Too Furious at the bottom. It's not on this list because Vin Diesel isn't in the movie, right? That's our Fast and Furious, our F ranking, right? Our FF ranking.
Too fast, too furious.
In my opinion, Fast 5 is a perfect movie, and this is not perfect, and this isn't nearly as good, but it's still a whole lot of fun and awesome. If I were to slot this in our Fast and Furious ranking, I would still put this at second, above The Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, probably.
Because there's so many great things in the movie, so many good acting, legit fun stuff with The Rock.
Is in it.
Exactly, right?
If you put The Rock in it, you're guaranteed like a just
something
solid,
just something,
just a fun
right?
film. It could be bad, but it'll be fun.
I think the movie does a good job of continuing the whole character. It's a team. They're doing different things. They're splitting off in different groups multiple times in different ways that I find very interesting. Everyone has a role to play. Maybe not necessarily nearly as much as Fast 5 and how well it's executed, but there's still an intense like, hey, there's a lot of people here, and like no one really feels left out. Everyone does something, right? even the new people that might not, in my opinion, deserve as much screen time as they get. Even them, they get a lot of stuff. I still don't really like the whole MacGuffin thing that this movie does, and how I honestly don't really know why a lot of it is the way it's set up. It feels like it is just, as we said before, get person to place B, and person A to place B, that kind of stuff.
We need them to be here because it'd be cool.
And like, again, even though I'm in camp, if the plot hole is in the service of the movie, I'm okay with it. If whatever excuse they use doesn't get in the way of anything and it keeps the momentum going, I'm okay with it. But this movie doesn't attempt to do that with its weird structure of a film.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. But overall, fun. And I understand why we were at the point where we were a couple years ago when we were watching these movies for the first time. We got away from this and said, this is the best one, clearly. And not Fast Five, because it just was so fun and awesome. We're seeing more and crazier and crazier. Now that we've seen them all, and we go back and watch them all individually for what they're worth, Fast Five clearly pulls out ahead, in our opinion.
It doesn't matter how it wins either, whether it's by an inch or a mile.
Winning is winning.
Winning is winning.
So I don't know. That's me. What do you think?
No, I agree with everything you just said. I still think you could potentially jump off from here and go forward, but I think you'd be doing a disservice to yourself if you don't at least watch Fast Five. I still say Fast Five onward. I know in the past I've said F4, and I say fuck F4 at this point. F5 onward. And I like F4, but like
Fast Five is just a good standalone movie.
Yeah,
it works by itself, no issue.
It's
not like most of those characters weren't even really fully developed in the previous movies anyway. So they essentially start off new.
Yeah, and I will say in this movie there's a couple stuff I feel like that you had to know. Like we had to know about Letty a little bit to know the impact of those scenes. Because they recapped it a little bit in the beginning with a hype montage, but as a standalone movie, I don't know if that would make sense or the impact of it would be as strong.
Don't think this movie ever mentions the fact that Brian disgracefully left the police twice.
That too. So this one's more building off of like, if you've watched other ones, you don't need to necessarily watch it. I still think it'd be a fine film to watch single by itself. But compared to F5, where like you really don't. F5, like you just said, like you don't have to know all these characters. Like you'll learn about them throughout that film.
Yeah, you don't need to know anything. It's perfect. So obviously, I think this therefore means Fast Five is still above this movie. Let me read you guys off our movie ranking list. You can go ahead and pull up the one that Devin tweeted out on the Sonic Movie Show's Twitter account along with this episode. You can see where we're at so far, and we'll see where we want to place this. So, our movie ranking list starts off with number 1, Saving Private Ryan. Number 2, Fast Five. Number 3, Triple X. Number 4, The Fast and the Furious. Number 5, The Iron Giant. Number 6, Awakenings. Number 7, Fast and Furious. That's the F4. Number 8, A Man Apart. Number 9, Find Me Guilty. Number 10, Boiler Room. Number 11, The Chronicles of Riddick. Number 12, Pitch Black. Number 13, The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. Number 14, Knockaround Guys. Number 15, Wheelman. Number 16, The Pacifier. 17, Babylon AD. I forgot it was that low. 18, Los Bandoleros. I forget about that
movie until every time you read it.
Number 19, The Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena. Number 20, The Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. Number 21, Multifacial. Number 22, The Chronicles of Riddick, Dark Fury. And number 23, Strays.
It's so unfortunate that The Chronicles of Riddick stuff is just, except for the Chronicles of Riddick being 11th, is just like so low on our list considering our show is named The Chronicles of Diesel.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Everyone, I remember when we like talked about the name, we were like, we don't want it to be, I feel like everyone would have done Fast and Furious. Like that would have been the more obvious choice. So we went with something a little different. So I do still like our name, but like every time I'm like, damn, I wish one of the Riddick movies was like in our top 5.
Well, we have a chance next month because Riddick and Riddick Blindsided are what we're doing next month.
Okay, there we go.
So there's a chance. All right, I'm going to throw this out there. I think this is below Fast 5 and above The Fast and the Furious. Therefore, if I were to solely decide where it goes, It is either above or below Triple X. Are you also in a similar boat? Or do you think this is lower than the Fast and the Furious?
It's weird because, like, in the Fast and Furious rankings, yes. But, like, now I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, we ranked the Fast and the Furious, like, pretty high. And I'm like, man, like, I almost don't want to put it above, like, Awakenings and stuff for some reason. I don't know. It's just because I'm, like, shocked that I forget that we put the Fast and the Furious that high. But it makes sense, like, the more I think about it, though. I just don't think I put this above Triple X personally. I just really like
Interesting.
Triple X.
I just like the characters of this movie more, but I can see an argument for why Triple X.
This Triple X,
I mean,
we
you
still
tell me.
we still haven't seen a movie like Triple X yet, or comparable to it in the sense of like Vin is the lead. The action fits Triple X when this movie is building up from the last couple movies. Like what we just said earlier, this isn't a standalone film, generally speaking. You could start off here, but I wouldn't recommend it. Like you can get through the movie and enjoy the action and whatnot, but the characters themselves, you're not going to really know much of the drama. If you care about the soap opera-ness of Fast and Furious, a lot of people don't. So take that as you will. When Triple X, I feel like, had great action and the plot was fun, and the characters are good in it, from what I remember. So for me, like, that's why I think Triple X is more of a complete film.
Okay.
It's just older, and I think maybe that's why, like, I think we just tend to like newer shit because maybe it looks better or whatnot. I remember Triple X, some of the shit didn't look as well because of its older films.
It was from 2002.
Yeah, but just I don't know. I just really like Triple X, and I don't want to like have it leave top 3 yet.
I remember we had a fight over which one was better, Triple X or the Fast and the Furious. So I guess I underestimated how much you like that movie. I understand. For the reasons why I guess I would argue why Fast and Furious 6 is a better movie comes down to the actual acting and the characters. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's in this movie.
Sure.
Vin Diesel does a better acting job, even though that's not what this ranking is about, but it's still a factor in this movie. You have lots of good casting decisions that have been mainstays. I understand that is a bit of a handicap then, because it's taking something that's already good and just doing it again. It falters with its story and its plot, but it has a good villain. What was the villain in Triple X? It's hard for me to remember because that was episodes ago.
It was like the dude who owned like that.
They owned the house.
Yeah.
The giant house. I don't know, but that's, to be fair, that was last year that we watched that movie, right?
Espionage.
Exactly. So I don't know. I'm fine putting this below Triple X and above the Fast and the Furious.
But I do like that you make a good point. Is like we have The Rock in this. I think like minutes ago I was saying like, man, we have the fucking Rock in this film, and like now I just forgot about that when I'm thinking about Triple X. Triple X don't have The Rock.
He says "woman" like 3 times. You know what? I don't know. Again, I really do think this movie is more fun, and I think that the action in this movie is better. Triple X is just goofy and has a sense of like radicalness that isn't straight up Tony Hawk level or just like
I remember like the snowmobile, just like them going down the mountains, and then he snowboards.
I think a lot of that though we are tying to how weird it was to see Vin Diesel being in that goofy and weird.
He fucking drives a motorcycle and then like the building explodes or whatever.
Don't they like have GPS for the first time and that's like this radical thing? It's like, yeah, that's what like my car or my the phone. Family car in like 2007 had in the vehicle, right? Something like that. But I don't know. I mean, like overall, I think Fast and Furious 6 is a better film.
Fuck it. Let's just make it 3. The more I think about it, it has The Rock. Some of the set pieces are bigger, but I really like Triple X. It's still going to be in the top 5, I think, for a decent
Here's our
amount of
top
time.
5 as of right now. Number 1, Saving Private Ryan. Number 2, Fast 5. Number 3, Fast and Furious 6. Number 4, Triple X. And number 5, The Fast and the Furious. The rest are as they have remained, just one slot down. We are at 24 total entries. It's crazy. There's a lot here.
That means the next episode will be 25. That's exciting. 25.
25 and 26 because we're doing a twofer. Oof. So Now we are going to talk about Vin Diesel's performance. What did you think about his acting in this film?
For me, like, it was good. Like, I mean, I don't think it was. There's no scenes I think he did bad with, outside like that, maybe that headbutt scene. But that's more of, I think, a camera issue and not a like. He's not actually going to headbutt a man because that's dangerous. So they have to
let him jump into it.
Yeah,
because he's taller than Vin Diesel.
No, I thought he was good. You know, like it's what you expect from this movie at this point. I think what you're expecting how Vin to be Dom at this point. Ever since he stole the show, I think in the first movie, like he's been consistent for the most part. I really like some of the scenes, like we mentioned earlier, when he sees Brian's son, and like I felt that like dad energy from him. Like, because I've watched his Instagram more than most people probably do, so I know how he is closer to at least what he is in real life to the most part. And it had the same vibe with that. I think he channeled himself legitimately in that scene, and like there's some warmth there, and he seemed to like generally, at least he acted like he like really was enthralled with Brian's son and like wanted to be like the uncle or whatever. So like I really liked that scene. I think that was impactful.
I think all the stuff with Letty.
Yeah, Letty was solid.
We need to mention that before we talk about negatives. I think the stuff he does with Letty and trying to reconnect with her, Michelle Rodriguez, I think is done very well. Not done amazingly. I didn't really feel anything per se. I don't really feel a lot of things in movies besides like when people die, then all of a sudden I feel stuff or just joy. But like, so like my barometer there's a little shallow, but I think it was done very well, and like it could have been a lot worse. Seeing other ways he's acted in movies prior, not necessarily saying he stole the show. It sucks to say this. I think The Rock did again, but like,
I don't want to say he stole the show because like The Rock doesn't really have many lines. The Rock does to me still feel like every other, like in terms of the same level, like he is like every other character. To me, stealing the show is like where like there was scenes he stole. I don't think he stole any scenes. I think he worked well with everybody and was The Rock. Like The Rock has a high pedigree at this point to me of like acting and being funny. Like I've seen in Jumanji and Jungle Cruise. Like he brings the same energy into his roles, and he's consistent. And it's, like I said, funny. So to me, he didn't steal the show. It's just kind of what I expected from him. And everyone else had their moments too. We were talking about it earlier, how everyone had their moments. And the only reason we feel that way is because the actors made that so. You know what I mean? We can't say that these characters had their moments and not give credit to the actors, because if they didn't do a good job, you would have been bored of that moment or forgot that moment or hated that moment. So I feel like The Rock was good. I don't know if he stole the show though. But like I said, I think Vin just does a good job, but that's all he needed to do. He didn't need to steal the show because everyone else, I feel like, is hitting it really well. Like they're all top notch. So like ever since like I think F4, like everyone acts well. Like I think Paul Walker gets better throughout the series too. So like I feel like everyone gets better throughout the series, and I feel like they flesh out these characters more so they can do more things with them.
Here's my question for you though.
Yeah.
Do you think Vin Diesel's performance in this movie is better than Fast 5?
No, because, and this is, I don't know how much stake to put this into Vin specifically, so I don't know. You have to tell me what you think. I just feel like he was more cheesy in this movie than in Fast 5. Like Fast 5 was cheesy, but was a good cheese. There's moments where he said some lines, and I'm like, that was just pure like soap opera cheese right there. And I'm used to it at this point, so it doesn't like take me off guard as much. Maybe if you're first watching the series, like, wow, that movie's bad or something. But if you like embrace this film, embrace this saga is what it is, a soap opera with fast cars, it rewards you. But there's still some moments in this film that I think the lines were just weird. I think he delivered them fine. It was just the lines are cheesy. So I don't know if that's necessarily his fault. Maybe he could have delivered it well, and I just don't know it. I don't know. But like, no one turns their back on family. Like, that's just so cheesy. Like, you know what I mean? But
it's what's awesome. That's what made the Fast and the Furious like so great. Here, my thing is that
I don't know. I
Well,
just don't
he
know where
did
to
have
go.
a couple. He did have a couple dramatic scenes with Elena in Fast Five. This movie's plot involves him specifically more so than Fast Five, for sure.
That is true.
Fast Five, he is the leader, but he is really just presented as another member of the crew. Maybe a decision is made because of him, but he is not emotionally tied to the story necessarily way more than the others. Here it is. So when you present how that is played into the story and how Vin Diesel performs those aspects, I think you have to pay a close attention to that. And I think basically, because we'll talk about the list in a second, a good chunk of the list is like, okay, fine, inadequate Vin Diesel, and then worse, with some good stuff floating at the top, right? I think this is definitely floating at the top simply because there's a lot of water, so to speak, below it, right?
Yeah.
So even when he just does good or just like okay good, it's still great compared to a lot of the other stuff we've seen from him. And I think the fact that he doesn't bomb the emotional bits with Letty,
No.
with Brian and the child, they even kind of, not really tied to him specifically, remembering they almost kind of start to set up the seed of F7, of Brian can't keep doing this life because he has a child thing here. Of course, obviously, Toretto isn't going to be listening to that same rule going forward because he's still alive. So he gets to be in the movies. But I think that he did good in this movie. I don't think he stole the show necessarily either. But it's to me, and again, I watched this movie a few hours ago, so obviously there's a recency bias there. I find his lines to be a lot more memorable in this movie and his performance than Fast Five. But again, I'm also thinking about the fact that he was a member of the crew in Fast Five. Here, the story is about his connection with Letty. Kind of similarly how Fast Four is done, but
Yeah.
I don't know. So let's list off the Vin Diesel performance rankings. Again, you'll be able to find that same place you found the movie ranking list. Vin Diesel's performance ranking is as follows. Number 1, Triple X. Number 2, The Fast and the Furious. Number 3, Fast and Furious. Number 4, Find Me Guilty. Number 5, A Man Apart. Number 6, Fast 5. Number 7, The Pacifier. Number 8, The Chronicles of Riddick. Number 9, Babylon AD. Number 10, Los Bandoleros. Number 11, Boiler Room. Number 12, Multifacial. Number 13, Pitch Black. Number 14, Knockaround Guys. 15, Strays. 16, The Chronicles of Riddick, Dark Fury. 17, The Iron Giant. 18, Saving Private Ryan. 19, The Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift. 20, The Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena. 21, Wheelman. 22, The Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. And 23, Awakenings. In a year, I'm going to be like dry mouth by the time I finish one of these lists.
Yeah, I might put them into acronyms or something.
Or I just like shorten it down to Assault on Dark Athena and not say The Chronicles of Riddick anymore. You tell me. I feel like I tell you a lot. You tell me.
This is real tough. Like I think we both agreed generally our thoughts for the most part, except for like some minor differences, but like it's more nitpicking at that point. I think. See, we ranked Fast 5 so much higher than I remembered. So I was gonna say above Fast 5, but like I just can't think about the pacifier and that fucking duck.
Really?
I just remember we liked him in The Pacifier. Like that was just like that was one movie that we liked.
Sure.
He stole the show, kind of not stole the show, but like he surprised us. He was the best actor in that film.
Everyone else was a child, but sure.
Yeah. I still like A Man Apart. I think that was a solid film that he did one of his better roles. And Find Me Guilty is like, I don't know if like that movie's so like out of everything we see here, it's just so different from everything else in like the top. Honestly, the top the top 5 basically is like you have action, and then drama, and like He was amazing in that. Like, I love that fucking movie now that no one's ever seen.
Yeah, pretty much.
So part of me thinks I want to put it above Fast Five, but below A Man Apart. But I could hear an argument for above A Man Apart, I guess. But I don't know. I think A Man Apart is just a better performance from him. I think he does more emotions and like delivers, I think, better. But I think it's because it's part of the script though too. But I don't know.
So I honestly struggle to remember a lot about A Man Apart. And I really only focus on the bits I remember that were of him, mainly smoking that cigarette on the beach, and feeling real sad a lot. But like, I remember feeling that it was pretty darn good. That's why we put it up so high, right? That was episode 9 of the Chronicles of Diesel. So prior movies were like Triple X, Knockaround Guys, Fast One, Pitch Black, Boiler Room, and earlier. So it was very clearly very good. So I don't know how much of that is, again, very clearly the 1% of good roles he had so far, therefore putting that at number 1 or 2. Doesn't necessarily mean it is amazing compared to some of the stuff he's done more recently. That's kind of what we're doing, right? We're kind of figuring that out. Part of me, so this is what's difficult about this list. I like his performance in this movie more than The Fast and the Furious. And I like it more than his performance in Triple X. But I also kind of agree that I don't necessarily find it better than Find Me Guilty. So I don't know. It's a difficult thing. Like, where do you anchor it then?
And it's part of like the recency bias thing, where like it feels fresher,
right?
And
I'm
you
not honestly.
You gotta remember the Fast and the Furious. Which one was that one again? That's the first one, right?
Yes.
I get to always double check. He stole the show. He wasn't supposed to be the main guy. Really, it was supposed to be Paul Walker's
That's true.
film.
That's
and
true.
He stole that show, and that's why it's that high. And I still think
then,
like that's one of the reasons that movie's so good. Is he one of the reasons this movie's good? Sure, but we thought The Rock was better in this film, and he had less scenes.
Okay. So then
it wasn't really a part of his story.
That factor there at the end, there, The Rock is in this. Fast and Furious, the 4th film, which is at number 3. I think very comparable in terms of his performance in that film and this one.
Yeah.
Very comparable, except I think this one is better. But The Rock is in this movie, which I think has a better draw than Vin Diesel's performances. Which makes it weird because
that means
personally,
it should be lower, not higher, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. However, I feel like his performance in this movie is better than in Fast and Furious. So it's in a weird positive and negative with that. I'm just thinking about that movie in particular because it's the same character. It's easier to grade these by, you know what I mean, than playing the character in Find Me Guilty that is a real person. Obviously, there's fantastical elements to it.
He did an Italian accent for 2 hours.
All right, we have it official. It's tough. I would say definitely above Fast 5, which makes it at least at number 6.
Yeah. Agreed.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not really a big proponent of A Man Apart.
He cries in A Man Apart, and I think he cried well.
He doesn't need to cry in this movie because he's strong.
But that's a character thing and not a deliverance thing.
Yeah. And he delivered that strongly.
I don't know. He got shot and he fell backwards. And compared to the other one where Dom walks through it, he keeps going like a fucking tank.
But again, it isn't the fact that he got shot. It is the betrayal behind the shot. It is the look Michelle Rodriguez gave him and the shock that gave him. Yeah. He was shot by her eyes more than shot by that round, you know?
I still think that some of his
I will just
cheesy,
let me
I don't know.
Let me just throw this out here.
Okay.
We had where even is it? The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift above a few things, mainly because he says a very memorable line that is quotable. He was when he was rolling with me. You know what other memorable line Vin Diesel's character Dominic Toretto has? It's the one this fucking show opens with and will be ending with every single time we air. You know what I mean?
I just want this.
Ride or die, remember? And then later he says that to Brian, and Brian says, ride or die. And I so kind of want a new edit of that song where it pauses after a while and then he just says ride or die. And it doesn't fit the tone.
I'd have to go back and see if maybe I could throw that in there.
I don't know. I struggle. I definitely want this above A Man Apart.
I did say at the start that I can hear an argument for it. I think it's one of those things. It's like, do you like? To me, it's like Pepsi and Coke. I'm just like, which one do you like? It doesn't really. Both are good. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you're still gonna drink both. You're still gonna watch both these movies again if you wanted to. If you had to pick between the two, I feel like both of them are arguable.
Sure. All right. I'm fine leaving this at number 5. So here is our top 5 for Vin Diesel's performance ranking. It goes as follows. Number 1, Triple X. Number 2, The Fast and the Furious. Number 3, Fast and Furious. Number 4, Find Me Guilty. And number 5, Fast and Furious 6. Wow. We hit it. We are in the 2013. We have been less than 10 years from the present, but we're getting closer and closer to that. He's had a lot of stuff in between then and now. So we'll see how this goes. But we're starting to really get into the modern era here. I mean, next up is the last Chronicles of Riddick movie as of yet.
And we just talked at the beginning of the show how they've been talking about making another one. That's crazy to think about. I forgot that it's literally next month.
Yeah. And we're 3 Fast and Furious movies away from being done until there's a new one. You know what I mean? Which we very well will, because in 1 year, so this is October 1st, right? Next October of 2022 will be essentially Bloodshot.
What?
Yeah, we have some stuff we need to move around on the list.
Watch Bloodshot. It feels long, but it also doesn't feel that long. You know what I mean? That's crazy.
Yeah, we have some stuff to move around. Just basically stuff like The Ropes and A War Hero that we might move out of the list and whatnot. But essentially, yeah. We're catching up to where the show began. We have another year. And then after that is just potential new stuff, right? So interesting. But yes, essentially for next month's episode, for November 1st, please, if you do not mind, watch the 2013 film Riddick, as well as its short animated film Riddick Blindsided. I have no idea what that's about. It's
Hopefully
only about 6
that's
minutes.
Available too.
It might be. I'm sure the fact that it's about 6 minutes means that it's probably on YouTube or Vimeo again. I mean, we watched, how long was Los Bandoleros? 20 minutes, and we found that on
whatever it was,
Vimeo. Yeah. So interesting. Yes, essentially, Riddick, Blindsided, and Riddick. Watch Riddick Blindsided first. I think it's a prelude. Maybe look it up first before you do. Regardless. I had a lot of fun with today's episode. This was a fun movie to do.
I'm surprised at how long we talked about this one. I thought we would go shorter for some reason.
This was the movie I remembered the least in the franchise.
Same.
And then next one for Furious 7, which is about February-ish, if not maybe January, has I almost called him Michael Caine. Jason Statham. They're both British and they got gray hair. or hair at all. I think they're maybe both balding.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jason Statham's in the next one, and he's a great villain just because he's Jason Statham.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
The star of the Meg.
Oh my god. Yeah, look at this roll-up. After Riddick, it's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Fuck yeah.
All right, let's stop talking about the future. And let's say our goodbyes. The show can be found every month on a variety of podcast services like the one you're listening to. We also have a YouTube channel. If you haven't listened to the show there, why don't you go on over, find our page at Sonic Movie Show, YouTube's page. Just search for the name, I guess.
/Sonic Movie Show or the Sonic Movie Show. One of those.
Does that work, or is it you need to be a big YouTube name to get that to work?
I'm pretty sure it works.
Well, you can help us become a big YouTube name and guarantee this URL by subscribing to us on YouTube. No, it's not like the Twitch where you need to pay.
Also,
this is a free service.
If you can, whatever service you're using, if there's a way to rate us or whatnot.
Or leave a comment. Yeah, let's do a little experiment. If you enjoyed this episode, on this episode's comment field or whatever, say, I love Fast 6. It's so good. With no punctuation.
In all lowercase.
And also, all lowercase. Now, also tweet the @Sonic Movie Show, our Twitter account. or at me at Ethan absolutely, or at Devin at CURSONAFUN, Cursona Fun.
Send it if you feel scared, send it via DM.
If you couldn't tell, the Sonic Movie Show was the name of those handles because we have another show called The Sonic Movie Show, where we review video game movies as well as talk about Sonic news and movie news and even the upcoming Sonic movie news. There's basically Sonic movie news on the horizon in a couple days.
Yeah,
that you'll
so
see on that
if you
episode.
were hyped about the first movie and you want a full ride, you can actually go back and listen to our old shit. And I think you could still like hear the hype that was slowly building throughout time. And we're doing that again, and I'm excited.
Nice.
Hopefully it doesn't get delayed.
We'll see you next month for Riddick and Riddick Blindsided. Goodbye.
Wish you would rid my...
What is it with you? What do you got, a death wish or something?
That's what it takes. I just want to race. Ride or die, remember?